Chapter 221, Heaven's Eye Dharma Domain. Upon hearing this, Li Fan couldn't help but ask, Junior has previously undertaken a mission with Zhang Zhengji. If I recall correctly, these two were only at the mid-golden core stage. How could they escape from the pursuit of a nascent soul true lord and so many golden core cultivators? Zhang Ziliang squinted his eyes and explained slowly, although these two are only at the mid-golden core stage, they share a deep understanding and seamless cooperation. They are highly proficient in combined attacks. Their golden core dharma bodies are named Floating White Snow and Lingering Frost Red Plum. Through mutual cooperation, they can create something similar to a nascent soul's dharma domain. When the two of them join forces, even ordinary nascent soul cultivators would find it difficult to match them. Recalling the scenes of slaughtering the red-haired beasts on the island, Li Fan nodded involuntarily. As if remembering something, Zhang Ziliang's face revealed a hint of a smile. He continued, these two insignificant golden core cultivators not only caused some chaos in the hinterland but also managed to escape unscathed. The Five Elders Association will certainly not let this slide and will seek retaliation. But they didn't dare to take on the responsibility of deploying soul transformation cultivators and initiating a war. So, they quietly sent a nascent soul cultivator to infiltrate the Kong Yun Sea and wreak havoc on Haidong Island. HMPH, the Five Elders Association is really petty. Zhang Ziliang sneered. After saying this, he corrected his expression, let's go. Although their actions are a bit childish, the intervention of nascent soul cultivators has indeed caused considerable damage to Haidong Island. The island guardian formation structure has been completely destroyed, and even the teleportation formation is unusable. We need to fly from the nearby human island. Led by Zhang Ziliang, Li Fan and the others took nearly a day to reach the vicinity of Haidong Island. The island's guardian had long received a notification and was waiting there. Greetings, Master Zhang. Perhaps because it was close to the Five Elders Association's territory, but the guardian of this island was unexpectedly a golden core cultivator. He had a sturdy and robust appearance, but his complexion was pale, indicating that he had suffered some injuries. This is the guardian of Haidong Island, fellow Taoist Pei Tuo. Zhang Ziliang introduced him to Li Fan and the others. Fellow Taoist Pei Tuo is now at the peak of the Golden Core realm and is already one step into the Nascent Soul realm. In the recent attack by the Five Elders Association's Nascent Soul Cultivator, if fellow Taoist Pei Tuo hadn't exerted his best efforts and activated the Island Guardian formation for defense, Haidong Island might have turned into ruins. Pei Tuo waved his hand, somewhat embarrassed. Pei Tuo is incompetent and cannot live up to Master Zhang's praise. Zhang Ziliang laughed heartily and did not force the issue. Fellow Taoist Pei Tuo, are the mortals on the island evacuated? He then asked. Pei Tuo nodded, they have all been moved to other islands. Master can start the repair work anytime now. Zhang Ziliang glanced at the islands below and, after a moment, said, the extent of the damage is worse than expected. Instead of repairing it slowly, it's better to rearrange it. As he spoke, he made no apparent movements. However, the sky above Haidong Island suddenly darkened. Densely packed clouds appeared out of nowhere, and a giant eye emerged from the clouds. It stared directly at Haidong Island below. Although it didn't lock onto a specific target with its gaze, within the field of vision of this giant eye, Li Fan suddenly felt his spiritual energy stagnate, and his movements became difficult. A sense of panic surged as if all his secrets were being exposed. Fortunately, Li Fan's mental fortitude was outstanding, and he had faced top-tier experts like the Heavenly Doctor before. Compared to that, the pressure of the nascent soul realm was just a small obstacle. Li Fan quickly regained his composure. However, to avoid drawing attention, he still pretended to shiver like the other formation repairers. Fortunately, the giant eye in the sky did not last long. A silver light flashed across the surface of Haidong Island. In Li Fan's perception, the remaining formation structures above the island were all dissolving and disintegrating within this silver light. In an instant, there were no more traces of formations on Haidong Island. The sky returned to its serene state. Pei Tuo's eyes flashed with a hint of envy as he remarked, Master Zhang's prowess with this Heaven's Eye Dharma domain is becoming increasingly extraordinary. This was Li Fan's first time witnessing Zhang Ziliang employing his Dharma domain. Compared to the nascent soul cultivator with a volcano Dharma domain he had slain before, Zhang Ziliang's Heaven's Eye Dharma domain was clearly superior by more than one level. The formations on the island have all been removed by me. Next, follow me to rebuild the formations, Zhang Ziliang said to Li Fan and the others. Now, our Kong Yun Sea's Island Guardian Formation is the Heavenly Yuan Transformation Formation. The outer formation consists of 367,800 nodes, with each node incorporating hundreds of formations. What you need to do this time is to reconstruct the external structure of the Heavenly Yuan Transformation Formation. As for the core internal formations, considering your level of formation mastery, it's too early for you guys. I'll handle the construction personally this time. Zhang Ziliang spoke and pointed towards the empty space ahead. A light screen containing detailed diagrams of hundreds of formation structures unfolded in front of everyone. Li Fan, tell me, what basic formations are included in this diagram? Zhang Ziliang singled out Li Fan. After a brief examination, Li Fan calmly answered, Spirit Gathering Formation, Fixed Defense Formation, One Qi Formation. Satisfied with Li Fan's response, Zhang Ziliang nodded. He then proceeded to explain in detail the construction of each node to everyone. Pei Tuo, avoiding suspicion, distanced himself from the area and remained vigilant in a defensive posture. 3 days and 3 nights passed before Zhang Ziliang thoroughly explained the external nodes of the Heavenly Yuan Transformation Formation. Although Li Fan didn't fully comprehend all of it, with the assistance of the Divine Transformation Dao technique, he had firmly memorized it in his mind. Master Zhang, I once happened to read in ancient texts about an ancient formation called the Life Transformation Grand Formation. I wonder what connection it has with our Kong Yun Sea's Heavenly Yuan Transformation Formation. Li Fan took the opportunity to inquire. Zhang Ziliang was slightly surprised, not expecting Li Fan to ask such a question. You are quite knowledgeable to be aware of such obscure formations, Zhang Ziliang praised and explained to Li Fan. The regenerative function in the Heavenly Yuan Transformation Formation originates from the ancient Life Transformation Grand Formation. However, due to the presence of the immortal mortal miasma in mortals' bodies today, the formation had to undergo corresponding changes to be usable. The actual effect is far from what it used to be. It is said that the original Life Transformation Grand Formation could transform the lifespan of ordinary people into longevity fruit that could increase the lifespan of cultivators. Now, it's only left with the minor function of increasing the concentration of spiritual energy within the formation and nourishing the physical body. Zhang Ziliang expressed regret. Next, he distributed formation construction materials and instructed everyone to independently build the formation nodes. With a chance for free practice in formation deployment, Li Fan naturally wouldn't miss it. He immersed himself in arranging the formations. All this time, Li Fan had mainly studied formation theory, and practical experience in formation deployment was relatively scarce. Therefore, he was a bit unfamiliar at the beginning, and his error rate was relatively high. However, he quickly discovered the abnormality of Divine Transformation Dao. Chapter 222, Soul Separation Jade Slip. Li Fan recorded every detail of each formation deployment into the Blue Dao Transformation Stone in his mind. If he failed in deploying a formation, Li Fan could review and examine it at any time, carefully identifying where the mistake occurred. In the next formation deployment, he could multitask, comparing his deployment techniques with the images in his mind. After several attempts, Li Fan's success rate in formation deployment skyrocketed. Moreover, as long as he deployed a perfect formation once, Li Fan could use it as a template for all future deployments. With the assurance of success, coupled with practice, Li Fan's speed in setting up formation nodes became faster. Gradually, he entered a state of concentration. In his mind, there was nothing but the formations. When the entire Heavenly Yuan Transformation Formation was constructed, and he snapped out of his trance, the 12th year had already arrived. Zhang Ziliang connected the core formation and external formations, then activated over 300,000 nodes. A blue transparent screen instantly enveloped the entire island. With the completion of the Guardian formation, Li Fan couldn't help but sigh with a sense of fulfillment. Through this training, his actual formation deployment skills had at least doubled. At this moment, Li Fan also noticed that the eyes of the other 3 formation repairers looking at him were a bit strange. Good, very good. With Zhang Ziliang's hearty praise, Li Fan learned that, in his state of concentration, he alone had completed almost half of the formation node placements. He could be considered a heartless puppet of formation deployment. In a good mood for having finished the Island Guardian formation ahead of schedule, Zhang Ziliang settled the accounts for this task on the spot. Li Fan received a reward of 4,000 contribution points. More than the sum of the other 3 people. Li Fan naturally didn't care about this small amount of contribution points but still expressed his gratitude to Zhang Ziliang. After returning, visit Formation Hall. I have something else to discuss with you, Zhang Ziliang quietly transmitted to Li Fan while reprimanding the other 3 formation repairers. Li Fan remained composed, replying through voice transmission to indicate his understanding. After the affairs on Haidong Island were settled, the group returned to 10,000 Immortals Island. After parting ways with his colleagues, Li Fan went to the formation hall a while later. Zhang Ziliang was already waiting. Master Zhang, may I know the purpose of your summoning me? Li Fan asked respectfully. Zhang Ziliang smiled and went straight to the point. I see that you have great talent in formations. I wonder if you are willing to follow me, become my student, and learn formations. Li Fan pretended to be pleasantly surprised. Master Zhang is the #1 in formations in Kongyunsi, I am naturally willing. But, Li Fan hesitated a bit. What's the matter? Do you have any concerns? Zhang Ziliang raised an eyebrow and asked. Li Fan replied honestly, as of now, I have reached the late foundation establishment stage. I want to concentrate on improving my cultivation and break through to the golden core stage. Before he could finish, Zhang Ziliang interrupted him. For cultivators, the importance of one's cultivation realm certainly comes first. After all, every breakthrough can add many years to our lifespan. If you have such plans, it's normal. However, cultivation also requires a balance between work and rest. Sometimes, when you feel stuck in cultivation, turning to the study of formations might make it easier to break through. Zhang Ziliang thought for a moment and produced a small metal figure from somewhere, handing it to Li Fan. Li Fan took it and observed carefully. He found that the object in his hand resembled Zhang Ziliang. Master Zhang, what is this? Li Fan asked. This is the soul separation jade slip. It contains a strand of my spiritual consciousness, which can transform into a phantom to teach the knowledge within the slip. Zhang Ziliang explained to Li Fan with a proud expression. As he explained, the metallic figure instantly disintegrated into countless light spots, forming a humanoid figure that appeared in front of Li Fan. It was almost indistinguishable from a real person, and it was difficult to tell if it was real or an illusion. During the learning process, for anything you don't understand, you can ask it questions. It will provide answers based on the content of the jade slip and my memories, essentially acting as a second me. Both Zhang Ziliang's main body and the shifting phantom of the metallic figure spoke simultaneously. If you encounter a problem that it can't solve, I can take over at any time and provide the answer personally. Your talent is excellent. I am gifting you this soul separation jade slip. Keep it with you, and you can study formations whenever you have time. This way, it won't delay your cultivation, and it will also enhance your proficiency in formations. Of course, the content in the jade slip is limited. Once you have learned all the content, you can come to the formation hall to find me. I will replace it with a new soul separation jade slip for you. How about it? Zhang Ziliang asked with a smiling expression. Li Fan was not unfamiliar with this phantom either. During his study at the formation hall in the 12th generation, he was taught by a similar phantom. At that time, he thought this phantom was some form of formation or clone technique. He didn't expect it to be transformed from a jade slip. However, this had no substantial impact on Li Fan. He came to Zhang Ziliang for 2 reasons. To improve his proficiency in formations and to gain the trust of Zhang Ziliang for the legacy containing 400,000 contribution points. Now, with this soul separation jade slip, he didn't have to stay in the formation hall all the time, granting him greater freedom. He immediately expressed his joy and gratitude to Zhang Ziliang. Zhang Ziliang then explained some rules for his disciples to Li Fan and let him leave. In the past, it was a fortuitous encounter to study under Zhang Ziliang, ultimately impressing him with my diligence. In this life, it's because I displayed a talent in formations, and Zhang Ziliang, having a keen eye, took the initiative to accept me as a disciple. However, this doesn't necessarily mean my talent is exceptionally high. It's very likely that Zhang Ziliang casts a wide net. Thinking about it, it's quite reasonable. Even in Kongyunsi, everyone knows the principle of not putting all your eggs in one basket. Master Zhang would not trust a qi condensation cultivator with his lifelong pursuit of the infinite formation. In the Tianquan mirror, Li Fan pondered over the memories of the 12th life and was enlightened. However, he had impure motives himself, so he had no qualifications to feel mistreated. Suppressing his thoughts, Li Fan activated the Tianxuan mirror's enlightenment function. Opening the soul separation jade slip, Li Fan listened to the teachings of the phantom of Zhang Ziliang while diligently cultivating. The two consciousnesses were distinct, unaffected by each other. Divine transformation Tao is indeed a supreme technique. When the mind can be divided for multiple uses, efficiency is greatly improved. Feeling the extraordinary effect of this Taiyan sect secret technique, Li Fan couldn't help but praise. While Li Fan's main body was in seclusion, his clone finally received a message from Zhao Shuyuan. Fellow Taoist Fan Lin, fortunately, I didn't let you down. I finally found the minor medicine king cauldron you asked me to look for. Hee, this time it's a big harvest. Can you guess how many I've dug up? Chapter 223, Advising Zhao Shuyuan. How many? Li Fan's clone's eyes flashed. Hee, did you dig up the entire medicine king sect ruins? Zhao Shuyuan replied with a smile, not exactly, but I was lucky enough to stumble upon the remnants of a workshop. Although most of them are unusable defective items, I still managed to find a total of 28 intact minor cauldrons. 28, Li Fan was slightly surprised. He hadn't expected there to be so many of these minor medicine king cauldrons. This quantity was well beyond his expectations. Recalling the scene in his 12th life was hunted down because of the two minor medicine king cauldrons in his storage ring, Li Fan fell into contemplation. The nascent soul cultivator had directly locked onto his position, meaning he was able to sense the existence of the minor medicine king cauldron through some method. It might be a secret technique or perhaps because the cultivator also possessed a minor medicine king cauldron. The reason he was fighting over the minor medicine king cauldrons was likely related to the return of the true medicine king cauldron. The opportunities within the medicine king cauldron are undoubtedly connected to these minor cauldrons which also belong to the medicine king sect. My death was probably just a tragic episode in the fierce competition. However, in this life, the more of these minor medicine king cauldrons, the better for me. With a swift change of thought, Li Fan quickly made a decision. Following up on Zhao Shuyuan's words, he replied, Hee, you indeed have good luck, fellow Taoist Zhao. But I don't need so many minor cauldrons. Having 2 for regular cultivation is sufficient. Buying another 2 as backups would be more than enough. Zhao Shuyuan hurriedly said, Fellow Taoist, your words are not accurate. I have appraised these minor medicine king cauldrons. They truly deserve to be ancient sect artifacts with remarkable effects. The results of cultivating spiritual plants in these are far superior to the mass-produced artifacts available today. Not to mention their long history and… Li Fan interrupted Zhao Shuyuan with a smile, Hee, fellow Taoist Zhao and I have shared hardships. Let's be frank. Fellow Taoist Zhao is worried about the current low prices of herbs and the resulting difficulty in selling these minor medicine king cauldrons, so you want me to buy more, right? Zhao Shuyuan didn't expect Li Fan to be so direct. He chuckled, trying to conceal his embarrassment. Just as he was about to explain, Li Fan continued, Fellow Taoist Zhao, rest assured. Since these minor medicine king cauldrons were what I asked you to find, naturally, I won't let you suffer a loss. In my opinion, if you want to sell these minor cauldrons at 100-fold, or even 1,000-fold higher price, it's not difficult. The tone was arrogant but confident. Intrigued, Zhao Shuyuan asked, Please share your insights, Taoist. Li Fan smiled faintly, fellow Taoist should know that the price of a commodity is not directly related to its inherent value. The final price a commodity can fetch is only determined by how much the buyer is willing to pay. Take these minor medicine king cauldrons, for example. If they are merely used as cultivation tools for nurturing spiritual plants, then no matter how much fellow Taoist brags about their benefits, a price of 1,000 contribution points is already the limit. What do you think, fellow Taoist? Zhao Shuyuan nodded slowly, you're right. 1,000 contribution points is an overestimation by fellow Taoist. Following the collapse of the herb market, selling one for 500 to 600 contribution points would be considered lucky. So, if you want to sell the minor medicine king cauldron at a high price, you need to tap into their other appeals. Li Fan's tone became profound as he spoke slowly. Other appeals? Zhao Shuyuan was momentarily stunned. These little cauldrons don't have any other uses, do they? Hee, if they have no value, then let's create value for them, Li Fan said emphatically. Do you know about when the Medicine King sect's Lu Rushan used a cauldron as a boat and led the entire Medicine King sect into the void? Li Fan asked. Zhao Shuyuan nodded, I naturally know about that. Then he realized something and sounded surprised, fellow Taoist, are you suggesting? Li Fan chuckled. Let's say the Medicine King Cauldron has been wandering in the outside world for thousands of years and is about to return to the Xuanwang realm, and only those carrying the minor Medicine King Cauldrons can enter. What do you think, fellow Taoist, about the price of these minor Medicine King Cauldrons? Li Fan asked. Zhao Shuyuan thought for a moment, and his tone became somewhat excited. If that's true, by involving the secrets of ancient sects before the Great Calamity, the price of the minor Medicine King Cauldrons will be difficult to estimate. Even setting the price at 100,000 contribution points per cauldron will likely attract many cultivators willing to buy. Li Fan immediately said, exactly. Zhao Shuyuan thought for a moment, feeling that something was off. Isn't this misleading people? It doesn't fit my business principles. Moreover, these cultivators are savvy, they won't believe whatever I say, right? Li Fan chuckled lightly and said, it depends on how fellow Taoist operates. As the saying goes, a lie repeated 1,000 times becomes the truth. At that time, use significant amounts of money to bribe several influential diviners and release the information. There's no way others won't believe it. As for deceiving people, hee. Li Fan sneered. In business, it's a matter of you buying and me selling, and it requires mutual consent. Furthermore, the return of the Medicine King Cauldron might not be false news. The Medicine King Cauldron that flew away in the past does have a slight probability of returning to the Xuanwang realm. Even if this probability is infinitesimally close to zero, as long as it's not zero, this event will definitely occur over an infinite time scale. As for how long such an event will take, and whether the Xuanwang realm still exists by then, that's another matter. Li Fan's words shook Zhao Shuyuan's mind. The thoughts and values expressed in his words were completely different from the principles Zhao Shuyuan had adhered to, the way of business he had always believed in. For the record, Thousand Mile Hall had always upheld honesty. Although Zhao Shuyuan occasionally took advantage of minor opportunities, he had never engaged in such grand and openly deceptive propaganda. However, Zhao Shuyuan felt a vague sense that Li Fan's words were extremely reasonable. In recent years, Thousand Mile Hall's business scale has already been limited and reached a bottleneck. His 10,000 puppets Dao had also been unable to break through. By analogy, this method can be applied not only to minor Medicine King Cauldrons but to all commodities in the world. By then, Zhao Shuyuan, after some contemplation, became excited as if his soul was about to tremble. He heard Li Fan continue his eloquent speech. To maintain the popularity of minor Medicine King Cauldrons, fellow Taoist can hold an auction every once in a while. Use the auction method to sell a few of these cauldrons. Not only can this maximize profits, but it can also promote Thousand Mile Hall's business, killing two birds with one stone. Chapter 224. Flight Prohibited 9 Mountain Ranges. If fellow Taoist is worried about not being able to protect the operation, you can spend some money to find backers. A simple 30-70 split, and you're good to go. It's always better than selling privately and exposing yourself to greater risk. With fellow Taoists' cultivation in the 10,000 puppets Tao, dealing with these powerful individuals shouldn't be a safety concern. You can get in touch with a few of them and then make a decision. Li Fan spoke fluently, providing Zhao Shuyuan with detailed instructions on what to pay attention to. He analyzed how to handle special situations and solve potential issues. Every detail seemed as if he had personally experienced it. Zhao Shuyuan listened attentively, completely engrossed in the discussion. Even after Li Fan finished speaking, he remained deeply immersed, taking a while to snap out of it. In this way, does fellow Taoist still worry about not being able to sell these minor Medicine King Cauldrons? Li Fan asked with a smile. Awakening from contemplation, Zhao Shuyuan sighed and admired, fellow Taoist's talents are rare in the world. Many of these ingenious thoughts about the business path are unheard of. Listening to just one of your insights is worth decades of my hard cultivation. Even just the value of fellow Taoist's plan is 100 times more valuable than those little cauldrons. The minor Medicine King Cauldrons that fellow Taoist needs this time, I will give them to you for free. If I truly profit from your plan with the minor Medicine King Cauldrons, I won't be stingy. I will definitely share some of the profits with you. Zhao Shuyuan guaranteed with a pat on his chest. I'm afraid that by that time, my main body will have long returned to the heavens. Li Fan thought to himself, but he remained calm, graciously accepting the 4 minor Medicine King Cauldrons that Zhao Shuyuan had gifted him. Afterward, he concluded the conversation with Zhao Shuyuan. Wait for Zhao Shuyuan to make arrangements, let the events ferment, and it will take some time. This plan is both false and true, so I'm not afraid it won't work. To avoid the prophecy coming true and my clone being investigated in reverse, this clone can't be kept. It needs to be sacrificed before the incident. Well, I can take a closer look to see how the execution of Crimson Flame in this life is different. And when the 15th year has arrived, and the meteor falls on Kangwu province, and the Medicine King Cauldron really returns to the Xuanwang realm. There should be many cultivators in the Xuanwang realm who can connect the meteor with the Medicine King Cauldron. The fierce struggle and looting of this life should happen earlier. I can't guarantee that cultivators above the nascent soul realm won't participate in the looting. I won't keep the minor Medicine King Cauldrons on my body. Maybe I can give some to the young fellows of the Immortal Revival organization if their strength is enough by then. I am also quite curious about this boat cauldron that broke through the sky thousands of years ago. I can use the children as my eyes to explore the Medicine King Cauldron when it returns. If there really is a great opportunity, I can seek it in the next few lives. The seeds had been planted, and Li Fan was waiting for the events to unfold. The mission of this clone is complete. I should consider making a trip to the Jushan Province Wanfa Chamber of Commerce and buying some techniques. With these thoughts, Li Fan began searching for companions in the Tianquan mirror. Everything went smoothly. 7 days later, a team composed of a nascent soul, 3 golden core cultivators, and more than 10 foundation establishment cultivators was successfully formed. When the agreed departure date arrived and Li Fan saw the members of the team, after some casual conversation, he learned that the leading nascent soul cultivator was actually an acquaintance. Of course, it was a one-sided acquaintance. Li Fan knew him, but he didn't know Li Fan. This person was none other than the Greenwood Rebirth True Lord. No longer the puppet master of the previous Spirit Mist Grass incident, he had become an active participant in this world. Greenwood Rebirth True Lord had also suffered heavy losses. Along with the premature exposure of the wood attribute subworld, his vital source of income, cultivating medicinal herbs, had been severely affected. Income had plummeted. Faced with extreme helplessness, Greenwood had no choice but to begin transforming his business. Being a nascent soul True Lord, he could undertake various tasks. Over the past few years, through various attempts, Greenwood had found a relatively easy way to earn contribution points, transporting goods. Going to the Jushan Province Wanfa Chamber of Commerce, purchasing some goods, and then selling them privately in the Kongyun Sea, earning the price difference. A round trip yielded considerable profits. Although Jushan Province was quite chaotic, with the rule of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance being weak, there was always the risk of being attacked at any time. However, with his strength at the nascent soul stage, self-preservation was not a problem. This way, Greenwood, who had tasted the sweetness, based on the principle of making a little more profit, began to lead the teams on his journeys. As long as a certain amount of contribution points were paid, one could join Greenwood's team and receive his protection along the way. 1,000 for foundation establishment, 600 for golden core. In one trip, Greenwood could earn nearly 20,000 contribution points. After paying the contribution points, Li Fan followed the team and set off. Due to the excessive consumption, the group did not directly use cross-province teleportation. Instead, they first teleported to the edge of the Kongyun Sea, entering the territory of Shilin Province. Then, they transferred through the teleportation formation in Shilin City to reach Xuanxi City near the Jushan Province. Afterward, they flew from Xuanxi City all the way to the Jushan Province. Jushan Province was named after the 9 continuous mountain ranges within its borders. 1. Each mountain range was like a towering city wall, spanning the earth. Moreover, each of these 9 mountain ranges had its own mysteries. Cultivators below the nascent soul stage, without cultivating a Dharma domain, couldn't fly over the mountain ranges. They could only traverse through mountain passes like ordinary people. Every year, there were some disbelieving cultivators who, in attempting to fly over the mountain ranges, ended up falling and dying on the mountain cliffs. The location of the Wanfa Chamber of Commerce was on the last mountain of the 9 mountain ranges, Mount Tianchong. Li Fan's clone followed the team and set off toward their destination. Meanwhile, his main body, after 3 months of cultivation, suddenly awakened from seclusion. He sensed that Yi Feipeng on the deserted island had started to show signs of activity. The perspective shifted to the deserted island. Yi Feipeng hid on the side, watching as Xiao Heng practiced the killing move, Water Dragon Song. The spectacular scene of thousands of water dragons dancing in unison made Yi Feipeng envious. Although the technique I cultivate, Kanghai wave treading, is well suited for the vast ocean, it's not as imposing as Xiaoheng's move. The combat effect seems to be slightly inferior as well. Yi Feipeng's eyes rolled as he silently pondered. No, my techniques and innate talent are not as good as Xiaoheng's. At this rate, I'll really be left far behind. If I think about it, it seems that the day when Zhang Haobo gets his opportunity is also approaching. Yi Feipeng made a decision. Taking advantage of Xiaoheng being immersed in his cultivation, Yi Feipeng quietly left the deserted island alone. He flew toward the direction of Luli Island. Li Fan smiled faintly and, through the teleportation formation, arrived first on Luli Island. To ensure that the situation remained under his control, Li Fan needed to be present in person. 7 days later, Zhang Haobo, who was still just an ordinary person, led the Kangyuan ship and began another fishing trip at sea. Naturally, Zhang Haobo was unaware that there was always a pair of eyes above him, watching him closely. Also, Yi Feipeng, who was monitoring Zhang Haobo, did not notice that, from a more distant location, another pair of eyes were gazing at both of them. On the Kangyuan ship, Zhang Haobo looked somewhat absent-minded. He surveyed the surrounding sea, and suddenly, a somewhat familiar-looking reef caught his eye. With a sudden shock, he ordered his subordinates to drop anchor and stop the ship here. Then, relying on his proficiency in swimming, he dove into the sea. In this shallow seabed, Zhang Haobo, relying on his premonition, searched around. Soon after, a skeleton sleeping on the seabed attracted his attention. He first returned to the surface for a breath of air. When he dove underwater again, wanting to investigate, Zhang Haobo was bewildered to find that the skeleton that was just there had suddenly disappeared. He didn't see that not far away, Yi Feipeng, full of excitement, took out a jade slip from the skeleton's arms. Carefully reading it, Yi Feipeng muttered, "A shocking palm, covering the sea with a single hand. All living beings have their own consciousness. So does the Kong Yun Sea. So that's how it is, so that's how it is." A glimmer of enlightenment flashed in Yi Feipeng's eyes. Asterisk 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 asterisk. 1 Jushin translates literally to 9 mountains. Chapter 225, Feipeng's Fortune. No wonder in the previous life, Zhang Haobo, a mortal with no background, was able to cultivate to the golden core stage in just over a decade. No wonder he, as a golden core cultivator, could mobilize the entire Kong Yun Sea's power, unleashing the earth-shattering Kong Yun Sea 28 swords. A look of realization appeared in Yi Feipeng's eyes. According to the contents recorded in the jade slip, the deceased was a practitioner proficient in sensing the qi of heaven and earth. Although his cultivation was only at the foundation establishment stage, he had accidentally discovered a shocking secret in a certain ancient ruin in the Kong Yun Sea. The vast Kong Yun Sea was formed by the palm strike of an ancient powerhouse. This practitioner spent over a decade excavating the seabed, studying the imprints left by the palm strike, and finally synthesized his insights into a profound technique. The sea-covering palm. Moreover, during the years of sensing the qi of heaven and earth, this practitioner speculated that, due to the astonishing palm strike, the Kong Yun Sea might have developed its own consciousness over the long years. Unfortunately, before he could personally confirm this, he encountered a heart demon during a moment of enlightenment, leaving him little time until his death. Before his death, he only had the time to record this information in the jade slip, leaving it for a person of destiny. Then, he died with regret. After comparing the contents of the jade slip with the observations of the previous life, Yi Feipeng finally understood. The heavens want to burn the sea, but the sea refuses to submit. Crimson Flame is the executor of heaven's will, and Zhang Haobo is the executor of the Kong Yun Sea's will. Perhaps Zhang Haobo alone is not a match for Crimson Flame. Zhang Haobo himself knows this. So, he controlled the wind disasters and used this opportunity to meet true monarch Hongxi of the 10,000 Immortals Island. He revealed the news of Crimson Flame's arrival a few years in advance. The allure of a heavenly spirit is extremely difficult for soul transformation cultivators to resist. So, 5 soul transformation true monarchs joined forces, and a Tao integration immortal sage presided over the matter. With such a formidable lineup, they were confident. But unexpectedly, a golden core cultivator ultimately stole the fruits of their efforts. Wonderful, wonderful, Yi Feipeng couldn't help but admire. Then, his gaze became greedy. Unfortunately, this life, I will take advantage of it. With a palm, he shattered the skeleton and jade slip into pieces. Yi Feipeng's momentum suddenly surged. It seems that the key to this life lies in how to attract the attention of the Kong Yunxi's consciousness. Zhang Haobo is said to have practiced with wind disasters for years. From chasing the wind at the beginning, to cutting through the wind, and finally shepherding the wind. During this process, he gradually became stronger. Undoubtedly, it was his confrontations with the wind disasters that attracted the attention of the Kong Yunxi. I can naturally emulate this. Yi Feipeng, who had been longing to attract the consciousness of the Kong Yunxi, was unaware that at the moment he shattered the jade slip, his destiny, which resembled white mist, was spinning wildly. It was as if something was being attracted by this vortex from the outside, and the white mist slowly gained a different color. Operating the sun-stealing technique, Li Fan, who was watching everything, couldn't help but nod. Indeed, his destiny was initially amorphous, and one change begets 100 changes. It's not in vain that I worked hard to lay the groundwork. At this moment, Li Fan, who had transformed his foundation treasure into the Kanghai Pearl, could faintly sense the sea around Yi Feipeng becoming more active than ordinary regions. This difference was subtle, and even highly skilled cultivators might not be able to sense it. Only Li Fan, who possessed the Kanghai Pearl of the same origin as the Kong Yunxi, could vaguely perceive it. The plan has officially begun to unfold. Next, it depends on how this little fatty develops. Li Fan looked at Yi Feipeng, whose expression was constantly changing as he contemplated something, and smiled faintly. His spiritual consciousness swept over the sea surface, and he saw Zhang Haobo standing at the bow of the Kengyuan ship with an expression of great confusion. Li Fan muttered to himself, although I don't expect Zhang Haobo to achieve the same heights in this life, he does have outstanding talent. It's a pity for him not to join the Immortal Revival organization. After my clone returns from Jushan province, I can send Xiaoheng on a trip. Quietly returning to the Tianshuan mirror, Li Fan, as usual, checked the record of Zhang Qinmo's achievements in discussing Dao while seated. It had now increased to 36 wins and 6 ties. There still hadn't appeared any method to crack the rebirth from the purple core. The tied matches were all achieved by relying on powerful combat strength to fight Zhang Qinmo to a standstill. However, Li Fan couldn't follow suit. Anyway, there was no rush, he had plenty of time. With the assistance of the divine transformation Dao, Li Fan once again cultivated and studied formations simultaneously. Jushan province. In front of Mount Tianchong. After half a year of long-distance travel, Li Fan's clone and his group finally reached their destination. Even Greenwood, who was a nascent soul true lord, had a tired expression on his face at this moment. Li Fan finally experienced for himself how vast a single province in the Xuanwang realm could be. Without teleportation formations, it would take at least 5 or 6 months for a foundation establishment cultivator to fly from one end to the other. Furthermore, that was under the best-case scenario, where everything went smoothly and there weren't any dangers. In reality, this journey was not very peaceful. During the 6-month journey, through many conversations with the others, Li Fan gained a rough understanding of the specific situation in Jushan province. Legend had it that the 9 mountain ranges in Jushan province were formed by the transformation of 9 meridians inside a certain beast after its death in ancient times. The 9 mountain ranges stretched across the land, each with its own mysteries, yet interconnected as one. They seemed to form an immensely huge formation. Due to this, teleportation formations were extremely unstable. They could explode shortly after construction. It was also possible for the destination coordinates to change suddenly, sending people to completely unfamiliar places. There was even an unfortunate cultivator who insisted on trying to use a teleportation formation, hoping to get lucky. As a result, he was directly teleported outside the Xuanwang realm, never to return. Because of this reason, after occupying Jushan province, the 10,000 Immortals Alliance felt that the management cost was too high. Moreover, this place was relatively barren, with no precious resources. They decided to give up the method of building a large number of cities. Instead, they built only 9 cities on the mountain trails between the 9 mountain ranges and dispatched people to guard them. On the plains between the 9 mountain ranges, there were all sorts of dragons and snakes, and various unscrupulous characters gathered. Among them were the local forces of Jushan province and external factions secretly supported by the 5 Elders Association. Most of the people in Li Fan's group were members of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance. Furthermore, with the nascent soul Greenwood Rebirth True Lord leading the way, these factions were somewhat restrained. Along the way, they only encountered 7 or 8 attacks, all of which were successfully repelled. It was said that if an ordinary cultivator rashly entered Jushan province, they would have long been skinned and plundered. Regarding this chaotic situation, the 10,000 Immortals Alliance couldn't be bothered to manage it. There was naturally a deep-seated reason for this. Chapter 226, Wanfa Tower Forbidden Items. Due to its proximity to the territory of the Five Elders Association, the Jushan province could be considered the true front line of war. Over the centuries, ownership of this region has changed hands several times. Instead of investing effort into development and ending up benefiting others, it was better to let the chaos continue and allow it to become a buffer zone for the ongoing conflict between the two sides. This chaotic situation is the result of the mutual considerations between the 10,000 Immortals Alliance and the Five Elders Association, leading to the lawlessness of the Jushan province. In front of Mount Tianchong City, Greenwood Rebirth True Lord revealed his identity. After a moment, the people entering Mount Tianchong City collectively breathed a sigh of relief, and their tense nerves relaxed. Fatigue occupied their minds, and everyone decided to take some time to rest in the city. Li Fan, being just a clone, didn't feel particularly exhausted and decided to leisurely stroll through Mount Tianchong City. Built on the mountain, the city's architecture and layout were quite different from other cities. It was divided into 9 layers, with the immortal ancestor statue towering on the topmost level, overseeing all. The next level housed the official buildings of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance, such as the Martial Hall and the Heavenly Secrets Hall. Below that was a clear boundary, where the core of the city's guardian formation was located. The lower layers appeared more disorderly, with various shops and residences scattered around. Looking at Mount Tianchong City, Li Fan suddenly had a feeling that the upper 3 layers of the city were forcibly added on top of the mountain. They seemed out of place compared to the several other layers. The most significant difference in the Jushan province's cities, compared to other provinces, was the absence of the Tianshuan mirror within the city. Li Fan knew before arriving that perhaps due to safety concerns, no Tianshuan mirrors would be provided in the Jushan province. If both parties in a transaction didn't have Tianshuan minor mirrors, they could only settle the deal using spirit stones. Li Fan's clone had come to purchase cultivation techniques. After inquiring with passers-by, he quickly arrived at the Wanfa Chamber of Commerce on the 6th layer. It was a very inconspicuous building. Li Fan would have thought he had come to the wrong place if not for the familiar character, Wan, embroidered on the flags at the entrance. No one greeted him at the entrance. Once inside, the lighting changed abruptly, revealing a hidden world within the small building. The clamor and commotion of people became apparent, and as far as the eye could see, there was a bustling market with many cultivators setting up stalls. It was like entering a lively bazaar where many cultivators were selling their wares. After a brief observation, Li Fan noticed that the crowd was divided by several banners with words like weapon, formation, pill, talisman, book, miscellaneous, and so on written on them. In the center of all the trading markets stood a towering building. A signboard in the middle of the high building read, Technique. Li Fan navigated through the crowded people towards the Wanfa Tower. Inside the building, cultivators were busy entering and exiting, appearing extremely busy. A chi condensation cultivator in robes quickly approached and greeted him. Esteemed guest, what brings you here? Cultivation techniques, forbidden items, or slaves? He warmly inquired. I'll just browse around for now, Li Fan casually replied. The attendant smiled and nodded, certainly, feel free to explore. If you need anything, just let us know at any time. Li Fan wandered through the Wanfa Tower. According to occasional signs inside, he understood that the first floor mainly sold goods for foundation establishment cultivators and below. The variety of items amazed him, ranging from detailed displays of techniques to emotionless enslaved cultivators, specially crafted weapons, and storage rings scavenged from fallen cultivators with unexamined contents. There were even services for customized weapons, slaves, or techniques. With enough money, one could quickly obtain whatever they desired, without the need to search within the Wanfa Tower. The merchandise could only be seen, not touched. A curtain of light separated the merchandise from the visitors. When spiritual consciousness locked onto the merchandise, a text introduction appeared on the light screen. If one needed to purchase the merchandise, one only needed to call out to the shopkeeper, and one could quickly check out using contribution points through a provided Tianshuan minor mirror. After purchase, the screen on display would immediately be replaced with other merchandise to avoid leaving the space empty. Li Fan wandered around and couldn't help but remember the experience of shopping at the mall before transmigrating. The shopping experience in the Wanfa Tower seemed a bit more primitive compared to that of the Tianshuan Mirror. However, it seemed to promote the desire to spend even more. Passing through a barrier, Li Fan arrived on the second floor of the Wanfa Tower. According to the instructions inside, generally, cultivators could only enter a floor one realm higher than their own cultivation level. The second floor featured goods related to the Golden Core realm, and it was currently the highest level Li Fan could access. The variety of goods here mirrored the first floor, although the quantity was somewhat reduced. The store assistants were now Foundation establishment cultivators, but they still wore smiles and maintained a courteous demeanor. After browsing for a while, Li Fan stopped in front of a technique called Boundless Mist. He focused his spiritual consciousness, and the technique's introduction appeared. Water Attribute Golden Core Technique. After cultivation, one's inner chi becomes like a vast lake, inexhaustible, one's figure becomes like ethereal mist, difficult to detect. Selling price: 70,000 contribution points. Buyout price: 140,000 contribution points. This buyout price hadn't appeared on the first floor, and its meaning was unclear. Surprisingly, it was double the regular selling price. Intrigued, Li Fan inquired with the attendant. After some explanation, Li Fan understood that the normal sale of a technique only involved selling the right to use it. Inside the Wanfa Tower, backup copies of the technique still existed. Regardless of the reason, if a sold technique went unpracticed for 30 years, the Wanfa Tower would relist it for sale. The buyout price, on the other hand, was the price to permanently purchase the technique. Once sold, the Wanfa Tower would no longer retain a backup copy, and the buyer would own the full rights to the technique. If the buyer lost the technique, the Wanfa Tower couldn't help retrieve it. If the buyer died without leaving behind any inheritance, the technique would be lost forever. Quite interesting, buying out a technique. The price is double the regular selling price. It's hard to say whether it's a profit or a loss. Without rushing to buy, Li Fan recalled that he hadn't seen any of the forbidden items mentioned by the attendant when entering. Curious, he inquired about them. The forbidden items sold in the Wanfa Tower don't necessarily have high prices. It's just that for various reasons, they are not suitable for public sale. If fellow Taoist wishes to view them, you'll need to sign a confidentiality contract first. The attendant explained enthusiastically. Li Fan saw no reason to decline and promptly signed the contract. The attendant took out a golden talisman. A layer of golden light emerged from it, enveloping both of them. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan found himself on another unknown floor. The goods and customers here were even scarcer. Li Fan looked around with keen interest. These were truly forbidden items. The first thing Li Fan saw deeply piqued his interest. Diagram of the Immortal Ancestor forcibly seizing the Tai Shang Primordial Scripture. Chapter 227, Reunion in a Foreign Land. Immortal Ancestor, the Tai Shang Primordial Scripture. The name of this item containing these two extremely sensitive terms was bound to trigger Li Fan's nerves. Approaching the partially unfolded scroll, Li Fan locked onto it with his spiritual sense, and the product information appeared. Immortal Ancestor forcibly seizes the Tai Shang Primordial Scripture. Several years ago, the Immortal Ancestor personally went to the Tai Shang sect to borrow the Tai Shang Primordial Scripture. At that time, a cultivator skilled in painting happened to be a guest at the Tai Shang sect. Using a brush, he recorded this scene. A replica. Suggested to be burned after viewing. Not recommended for 10,000 Immortal Alliance cultivators to carry. Highly discouraged for 5 Elders Association cultivators to carry. Selling price: 200 contribution points. Li Fan carefully examined the price, his expression peculiar as he asked, "This scroll is selling for only 200 contribution points. Can it still be considered a forbidden item?" The attendant explained patiently, "Because it's a replica and can be mass-produced, the price is very low. The reason it's considered a forbidden item is because this painting involves 2 longevity immortals. Displaying it casually could lead to significant trouble." Li Fan's eyes flashed at the mention of 2 longevity immortals, immediately ready to make the payment and acquire it. However, at that moment, Li Fan suddenly became alert. "Will there be any trouble after looking at this painting?" The attendant smiled. "Esteemed guest, you need to know that this painting contains nothing twisted or slanderous. It simply records and restores the scene from the perspective of an observer. Moreover, in the eyes of the Immortal Ancestor, we cultivators are no different from ants. They wouldn't bother with our words and actions. The real trouble comes from those below the immortal ancestor, those eager to show loyalty. The attendant stopped there and said no more. Li Fan nodded slowly, spent 200 contribution points, and bought the painting. Holding the scroll, without unfolding it, his spiritual sense instantly entered the painting. The surroundings abruptly changed, as if, in an instant, he had traversed time and space, arriving thousands of years in the past. Above the vast sea of clouds, 33 floating peaks successively activated guardian formations. An elderly man with a high crown calmly stepped through the air. I have heard that the Tai Shang sect possesses an original scripture, profound and infinite, known as the source of all laws and the origin of all Taos. Now, calamity has befallen, and cultivators practicing the same technique cannot coexist. For the sake of the world, I request to borrow the scripture for a glimpse. The voice was unhurried, spreading throughout heaven and earth. The boundless sea of clouds dispersed, revealing the world below. The sky suddenly darkened, and the stars appeared in broad daylight. A cold, emotionless voice instantly echoed from the 33 peaks of the Tai Shang sect, suppressing all the anomalies. The life and death of worldly cultivators have nothing to do with me. Fellow Taoist, please leave. The elderly man shook his head slightly, a look of pity appearing on his face. In that case, what does the scripture have to do with you, the Tai Shang sect? With a single step, the old man instantly arrived in front of the 33 peaks. Boom! A violent shock came, and an infinite white light engulfed everything in sight. The content of the painting abruptly stopped here, and Li Fan's spiritual sense withdrew from the painting. Although the subsequent events were not described in the painting, the current state where everyone could cultivate part of the Tai Shang primordial scripture hinted at the outcome of that battle. Rolling up the scroll, Li Fan couldn't help but fall into a brief contemplation. So, the method that all cultivators heavily rely on today for dispersing and recultivating techniques is also derived from Immortal ancestor. One could say that without this extraordinary method that allows one to convert to other techniques with minimal loss, the current system of technique transactions would be impossible to sustain. The plight of cultivators would undoubtedly be much more miserable. For the sake of the world. On the surface, it does seem that way. But, after a moment of contemplation, Li Fan shelved his thoughts and continued leisurely strolling through this forbidden item level. Items like this painting that had been classified as forbidden due to involving great secrets were still a minority. The vast majority were materials explicitly prohibited by the Five Elders Association that possessed various special functions. Li Fan was particularly interested in the Tao Enlightenment elixirs he had heard about before. Another item that caught his attention was a portable teleportation formation. It didn't require the user to have much knowledge of formations, you just needed to place the two ends of the teleportation formations at suitable locations and they would automatically construct and activate. Within the 10,000 Immortals Immortal Alliance, the construction of teleportation formations could be considered highly confidential. Li Fan hadn't encountered related knowledge until now. The Tao Enlightenment elixirs cost 500 contribution points each, with a limit of 100 pills per cultivator. A set of 3 portable teleportation formations cost 3,000 contribution points. Li Fan bought 2 sets just in case. After leaving the forbidden item level, he quickly purchased 2 golden core level techniques and 12 foundation building level techniques. He spent almost all the 300 top grade spirit stones carried by his clone before calling it a day. When leaving the Wanfa Chamber of Commerce, he was thoughtfully gifted a mask. Wearing the mask could change one's appearance, preventing tracking by others. Li Fan accepted the mask with a smile. He rented an inn in Mount Tianchong City, initiated a ritual, and transferred the purchased items to the White Bone Realm. Finally, he could relax a bit. Copies of the control center of the White Bone Realm, the White Bone Left Hand, were held by both the main body and the clone. This way, even if there were any unexpected incidents on the return journey, at most, only a clone would be lost. With things settled, the clone left the inn and strolled around Mount Tianchong City. 3 days later, Greenwood and the others also completed their purchases. As they prepared to return home, they encountered a group of cultivators coming from the Kongyun Sea. This group was led by a nascent soul stage cultivator named Ling Meng. Although Ling Meng and Greenwood didn't know each other personally, they had heard about each other. Since they were all cultivators from the Kongyun Sea, the group discussed and decided to return together for mutual support. After waiting for a few more days, they finally embarked on the long journey back. Compared to the journey here, the returning group expanded by almost double. There were 2 nascent soul cultivators, 7 golden core cultivators, and over 20 foundation building cultivators. The lineup was quite formidable, deterring many opportunistic troublemakers. The journey back was much smoother. However, Li Fan always felt that the nascent soul stage cultivator named Ling Meng seemed familiar but couldn't recall where he had seen him. It was only when his main body, currently cultivating in the Tianquan mirror, split one part of his mind to carefully review past memories one by one that he recalled. This Ling Meng was the nascent soul cultivator who entered the blue ox cart's thatched cottage in the 12th life and tragically died during an exploration of a cave shortly afterward. Li Fan had seen his image in the Heavenly Secrets Hall, so he felt a sense of familiarity. In this world, Li Fan hadn't taken the task of the cloud water map, so the events of the blue ox's cart pulling and the master appearing in the world didn't occur. It seems he had changed the fate of this person's death. Chapter 228. Tianyang appears in the mortal world. With Greenwood and Ling Meng, 2 true lords at the nascent soul stage, leading the way, everyone clearly felt much more relaxed during the journey. They chatted and laughed along the way, discussing various anecdotes and secrets. Li Fan just smiled and listened, not actively participating. During the journey, they occasionally encountered cultivators from other provinces. While exchanging information, Li Fan happened to learn that prophecies about the return of the Medicine King Cauldron were starting to circulate in various places. However, at this point, everyone treated it as a joke and didn't take it seriously. It seemed that Zhao Shuyuan had already started making efforts in his plan. However, truly influencing public opinion would still take a considerable amount of time. Time passed quickly, and after almost half a year, the group finally returned to the Kongyun Sea. By now, it had been 13 years since the anchor was set. Most people had exchanged contact information, and after bidding farewell, they each went their separate ways to rest. The clone, who had entered the Tianquan mirror realm, activated the ritual and arrived in the White Bone realm. On the nameless deserted island, Xiao Heng, who was already in the later stage of qi condensation, suddenly showed a change in expression while meditating. He activated the necklace on his chest, and his consciousness also arrived in the White Bone realm. "Senior, have you awakened?" He looked at the skull, which seemed to have regained some vitality, and spoke with excitement. "Cough, just a slight recovery, I've barely escaped the fate of complete disappearance. I woke up this time because there's a task I need to assign to you. Next, I'll continue to heal my injuries in my sleep." The skull spoke weakly. "While I was in slumber, it seemed like I sensed someone with a similarly excellent talent around you," the skull continued. Quickly, Xiao Heng responded, "It's a companion who came out of my hometown with me, Yi Feipeng. His cultivation speed is also fast and very reliable." The skull pondered for a moment, seemingly sensing, the talent of this little fatty is indeed not much weaker than yours. It's a pity that the person I sensed during my slumber doesn't seem to be the same." Xiao Heng was puzzled for a moment and quickly replied, "Could it be my little sister? Although she's still very young, she can already run and jump, and her strength is frightening. Ah, this little girl's talent is quite terrifying as well. However, how come she hasn't started cultivating yet? Such talent should have been absorbed into our Immortal Revival organization long ago, right? Child, why are you so lax?" The skull interrupted him. Xiao Heng blushed and explained, "Senior, please don't misunderstand. I just thought my little sister was still young, so I didn't rush to let her cultivate." The skull interrupted him again, "Peerless talent cannot be measured by common sense. You're only holding her back. Well, you are still too young after all. It seems that it was a hasty decision to pass such a heavy responsibility to you back then." The skull muttered to itself in a low voice. "Senior." Xiao Heng was at a loss for words for a while. After a long time, the skull seemed to make a decision. "Holding this responsibility is too difficult for you alone. So, I'll lend you a hand." Saying this, the skull flew into the sky. In its hollow eye sockets, a faint light shot out. In the light, countless scenes quickly flashed. After a while, the flickering images suddenly stopped. The skull, as if it had consumed too much energy, fell to the ground. Xiao Heng hurriedly went forward but was stopped. As the light emitted by the skull hit him, several people's information quickly appeared in Xiao Heng's mind. Luli Island, Zhang Haobo. Night Island, Yin Yuding, Yin Yuzhen. "Senior, what is this?" Xiao Heng couldn't help but feel a little confused. These are the sons and daughters of destiny that I found within the scope of the Kong Yun Si using a secret technique. These people either have outstanding cultivation talents or possess extraordinary abilities. They will be of great help to you in revitalizing the Immortal Revival organization. Unfortunately, my strength is exhausted. In the future, it will depend on your own luck. Remember, focus on developing and improving your own strength. The power of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance is immense, and even at the nascent soul level, it's difficult to make any waves. So, your top priority is cultivation. For these new additions, don't directly reveal the details of Immortal Revival organization to them. Just say it's an independent cultivation organization to avoid scaring them. As for the specifics, it's up to you to decide. The voice of the skull became fainter and fainter, finally becoming ethereal, disappearing into the darkness. Senior. Xiao Heng held tightly to his fists. After a long time, his gaze gradually became firm again. Awakening from the pre-expedition realm, Xiao Heng planned to find Yi Feipeng first and discuss with him about finding the various sons and daughters of destiny. Unexpectedly, Yi Feipeng had already taken the initiative to come over. Sneakily dragging Xiao Heng to a secluded and uninhabited place, Yi Feipeng began to speak slowly. Tianyang Cave. Several foundation-building cultivators went in for exploration under the leadership of a golden core cultivator, but the results were disastrous, with heavy casualties, and only the golden core cultivator managed to escape. Xiao Heng looked at Yi Feipeng, feeling a bit puzzled. Why are you telling me all this? Yi Feipeng said sternly, the 10,000 Immortals Alliance is preparing for a second exploration. This time, the exploration team is likely to be led by a nascent soul cultivator, with the addition of several golden core cultivators. However, it's useless. No one can escape death. I boldly speculate that the second exploration team will still be wiped out. Xiao Heng was taken aback. It's impossible. Didn't you say it's a golden core cultivator's cave? How could even nascent soul cultivators die inside? Yi Feipeng snorted. That's because the Tianyang Cave's 17 puppets have strange characteristics. They are weak against the weak and strong against the strong. He emphasized each word, speaking solemnly. Xiao Heng squinted his eyes, pondering the meaning of these words. Suddenly, he stared at Yi Feipeng and asked, how do you know all this so well? Yi Feipeng waved his hand dismissively, I just know it, I just know it. Have you forgotten? That's not the point. The point is, we must quietly sneak into the cave before the second exploration team is formed and seize the opportunities inside. Yi Feipeng asserted decisively. Otherwise, when the 10,000 Immortals Alliance's team is wiped out again, it will cause a huge sensation and make it impossible for us to seize the opportunities without attracting attention. Seeing Xiao Heng's skeptical eyes, Yi Feipeng became anxious and asked repeatedly, you don't believe me? Would I harm you? We are both cultivators from Dali, we are both members of Immortal Revival Organization, and we've even signed a contract. We're on the same boat, from the origins. How could I harm you? ... In the end, Xiao Heng was persuaded. The two quietly approached the vicinity of Tianyang Cave and the underwater volcano. At this time, the news about Tianyang Cave had not spread on a large scale, and the surroundings were quiet without any cultivators lurking. You go in first and learn the attack patterns of those puppets. See how long you can endure. The puppets at the Qi condensation stage have weak attack power. Even if you are hit, it won't matter. I'll keep a lookout outside. Yi Feipeng instructed. Xiao Heng nodded slowly, his expression serious, and he flew into Tianyang Cave. After about 20 breaths of time, Xiao Heng rushed out looking somewhat embarrassed. Without saying a word, he just closed his eyes and pondered. After a while, he flew back in again. This time, Xiao Heng persisted twice as long. The third time, after half a day, Xiao Heng exhaustedly said to Yi Feipeng, I have roughly figured out the attack patterns of these puppets. But my spiritual energy is limited. Even with this understanding, I can't hold on for long. Yi Feipeng, looking confident, handed a storage ring to Xiao Heng. When Xiao Heng took a look, the ring was filled with spirit stones. Where did you get these? He couldn't help but ask. Yi Feipeng, feeling proud, said, I have my own methods. Don't worry about it. How about it? With these spirit stones, how long can you endure? Xiao Heng took out a spirit stone and sensed its spiritual energy concentration. After a while, he affirmed, with enough spiritual energy to support me, those puppets, although numerous, should not be able to harm me. Yi Feipeng hurriedly said, no, this won't do. You must be at a disadvantage but not be defeated. In this way, endure for as long as possible until I come out from inside. Xiao Heng frowned. Fatty, are you teasing me? What kind of weird request is this? Then, he carefully scrutinized Yi Feipeng and said suspiciously, do you have something you're hiding from me? Don't be so suspicious. I'm not telling you just to prevent it from affecting your mentality, thereby reducing your combat power. Yi Feipeng said helplessly, in terms of danger, I'm in greater danger inside the cave. If something really happens, you still have hope of escaping from the exit. I, on the other hand, can't even escape. Xiao Heng nodded slowly upon hearing this. All right, no time to waste. Let's make some preparations and take action immediately. My life is in your hands. Yi Feipeng looked a bit nervous, but after taking a deep breath, a hint of determination flashed in his eyes. Let's go. After a while, the two rushed into the Tianyang cave one after another. 17 puppets blocked their way. Yi Feipeng's feet flashed, and he quickly maneuvered around them, appearing behind the puppets. The enraged puppets were about to pursue, but were intercepted by deep blue water swords. Countless water swords, like flying dragons, erupted simultaneously. Xiao Heng instantly stood within the 17 puppets. Surrounded by the attacking puppets, Xiao Heng looked extremely wretched. The puppets' attacks almost grazed his body. There was a risk of severe injury with the slightest carelessness. Yet, seemingly with extremely good luck, he managed to avoid every attack. The situation appeared perilous but was actually completely under control. The battle between the two sides continued for some time. The puppets that couldn't break through seemed to be undergoing some kind of transformation. The power displayed in each move gradually exceeded the scope of the qi condensation stage. On their crimson bodies, a faint black light began to shine. A sense of foreboding suddenly emerged in Xiao Heng's heart. He took out another spirit stone to replenish his internal spiritual energy. He shouted towards the inner part of the cave, Fatty, are you done yet? Echoes spread all around, but there was no response. Xiao Heng had no choice but to grit his teeth and persevere. The puppets' attacks became more ruthless, and Xiao Heng began to struggle. As he was about to be hit by the puppets, he shouted, Water Dragon Song. Twice as many water swords suddenly appeared. The densely packed sea-fixing swords immediately scattered the puppets. The 17 puppets paused for a moment. Then, cracks gradually appeared on their bodies. Fatty, something's not right, Xiao Heng shouted. Tian, a sudden ancient and mechanical voice echoed from the cave. Damn it, how come there's nothing? Yi Feipeng's extremely frustrated voice also sounded at the same time. He turned into a thin line and dashed out of the depths of the cave without looking back. Run! While fleeing, he shouted anxiously. Xiao Heng had never seen Fatty so scared before. His heart trembled, and without hesitation, he burst out with his spiritual energy. The sea-fixing swords, like a torrential rain of pear blossoms, forced the 17 puppets to retreat. Xiao Heng followed closely behind Yi Feipeng, escaping from Tianyang cave. Yang. Before leaving, Xiao Heng heard the sound of something shattering. Keep running, as far as you can. Yi Feipeng's fearful voice came from beside him. Xiao Heng's heart tightened, and he followed the plump but extremely agile figure of Yi Feipeng, escaping in a sorry state. Shortly after Xiao Heng and Yi Feipeng left, a small team of more than a dozen people happened to arrive at the entrance of Tianyang cave. This time, with True Lord Gushuan leading the way, exploring a small golden core cave is sure to be a piece of cake, praised a golden core cultivator in the team. Ha ha ha, let's go, I want to see if the puppets in this cave are really that amazing. True Lord Gushuan laughed heartily and walked into the cave first. What greeted him was a giant black hand full of cracks. Tianyang's soul, not weaker than man. Thick smoke rose to the sky as the underwater volcano repeatedly erupted. In the face of this terrifying power, the golden core cultivators had no resistance. This exploration team, just a second ago, had smiles on their faces. The next moment, they mysteriously and inexplicably vanished from this world. The towering Tianyang puppet stood tall, roaring angrily. After discerning the direction, it took a big stride towards 10,000 Immortals Island. Chapter 229, Eternal Remembrance. Soul transformation stage cultivators unleashing attacks without restraint were capable of causing massive destruction to an entire province. As the Tianyang puppet appeared, it unsurprisingly attracted the attention of 10,000 Immortals Island's true monarch Hongxi. The intense battle between the two soul transformation experts captured the gazes of countless cultivators in the vicinity. Xiao Heng and Yi Feipeng, who had finally escaped to a safe location after their chaotic retreat, were now watching from a distance with pale faces. Even though they were far away, the shockwaves from the battle still made it challenging for the two small chi condensation cultivators to maintain their balance. It was easy to imagine how terrifying the power of soul transformation was, considering the impact of each move. Thinking about how he had recklessly tested himself against the puppet not long ago, Xiao Heng couldn't help but swallow hard. "Fatty, don't involve me in such matters next time. I still want to live a few more years," Xiao Heng said slowly, looking at Yi Feipeng. Yi Feipeng also wore a look of despondency, as if greatly affected. "I mustered my courage and risked my life by charging in headfirst, but didn't find any treasures at all. Why is a soul transformation expert so poor?" Fatty sighed as he watched the enraged Tianyong puppet in the distance. "Did you really find nothing?" Xiao Heng doubted. Yi Feipeng became agitated. "When did you become so skeptical? You don't believe what I say anymore. Moreover, I have nothing to lie to you for. Look for yourself. I'm broke, there's nowhere else to hide things." With that, he tossed his storage ring towards Xiao Heng. Complaining, Yi Feipeng added, "The cave was as barren as a rock. Apart from a child's remains, there was nothing. I searched over and over, and it was barren every time. You were making a commotion outside, and with the Tianyong puppet about to appear, adhering to the principle of not leaving anything behind, I hurriedly grabbed the remains and escaped. After all the hustle, all I got was a skeleton. What bad luck." Xiao Heng, after scanning the contents of the storage ring, also wore a disdainful expression. "Not finding treasures is one thing, but why bring this skeleton out? How many years it has been dead? It looks like it died younger than us. I wonder if it has any connection with that soul transformation puppet." Xiao Heng handed the storage ring back to Yi Feipeng. Suddenly having a whimsical idea, Yi Feipeng said, "Maybe we can use this skeleton to patch up that skull. Since they're both skeletons, maybe if we feed it to the skull, it might really help in recovering its injuries." Xiao Heng's expression became serious. "Don't joke about senior." Seeing Xiao Heng's seriousness, Yi Feipeng rolled his eyes but didn't argue. After contemplating for a moment, Yi Feipeng suggested, "The commotion caused this time is not small. Let's go back to the deserted island and hide for a while. We'll come out when the storm settles." Nodding, Xiao Heng said, "Yes, not long after we escaped from that cave, it seems the second exploration team from the 10,000 Immortals Alliance entered, as you mentioned. A nascent soul stage cultivator and more than 10 golden core cultivators. All gone. If it weren't for the death announcements in the sky, I doubt anyone would know how they died." Tisk, tisk. Feeling emotional, Xiao Heng sighed. Yi Feipeng, however, seemed bewildered. "Is that so? I was too busy running for my life, I didn't pay attention to the sky. But it seems the team really couldn't escape death. I triggered Tianyong in advance, but they still ended up going into the cave." Fatty seemed to be enlightened, his eyes lowering into deep thought. True Monarch Zion made a move soon after, and the Kong Yunsi returned to calm. The two of them quietly returned to the deserted island. However, Yi Feipeng seemed absent-minded throughout the journey. "Oh right, Fatty, give me the remains you found," Xiao Heng suddenly said. "Sure." Absent-minded, Yi Feipeng subconsciously took out the skeleton from the storage ring. After handing it to Xiao Heng, he suddenly came to his senses, feeling inexplicably puzzled. "What are you going to do with this?" "I was planning to see if the bones are hard enough to be polished into a spiritual weapon later." Xiao Heng solemnly replied, "After thinking it over, I find your words somewhat reasonable." "Hee, my words have always been." "Wait, you're not really going to feed these remains to that skull, are you?" Yi Feipeng reacted and immediately looked at Xiao Heng as if looking at an idiot. "Maybe." Xiao Heng was nonchalant and urged, "Fatty, hurry up, give me the remains." Yi Feipeng had some hidden reluctance in his heart and hesitated. Seeing this, Xiao Heng became a little unhappy. "With your talent, what useful spiritual weapons can you build with bones? Forget it, this time, I'll owe you a favor. When there is an opportunity in the future, I will repay you." Yi Feipeng's face immediately became a bit embarrassed by this provocation. He pretended to be generous and said, "HMPH, I was just saying it casually. It's just a useless skeleton, would I take it seriously? What a joke, here you go." Xiao Heng happily accepted the remains, performed a ritual, and headed to the White Bone realm. Although Yi Feipeng was a little disappointed, he was still young and didn't think too much about it. Once again, he immersed himself in the insight into the fated death. In the pre-expedition realm, Xiao Heng carefully placed the skeleton down, softly calling out to his senior. Unfortunately, there was no response. Although Xiao Heng felt a bit regretful, he didn't retrieve the remains but left them where he initially found his senior's skull, hoping it would be of assistance. He then quietly departed. Not long after Xiao Heng left, Li Fan's avatar revealed itself. Looking at the skeleton lying on the ground, Li Fan couldn't help but feel a sense of amusement. This kid, he doesn't really think this thing is useful, does he? Li Fan had been closely monitoring Yi Feipeng with formless killing intent throughout. From the vision of heaven and earth, this was indeed just an ordinary human skeleton. But his intentions are genuine. This kid has always been pure-hearted. Compared to him, that fatty Yi Feipeng is much worse. To not disappoint the child's good intentions, Li Fan intended to put away the skeleton and deal with it later. However, the moment his clone made contact with the skeleton, Li Fan's expression subtly changed. This feeling is. With a serious expression, he carefully examined it again. However, after examining it for a long time, he still couldn't find anything unusual. Strange. Where does this unusual feeling come from? Li Fan frowned, muttering to himself. Unwilling to give up, he repeatedly studied it for half a day but still found nothing. A pure cultivator skeleton, there's absolutely no mistake about that. It's not some disguised treasure. But that strange feeling in my heart wouldn't arise for no reason. So where is the problem? Li Fan put down the skull, lightly placed his hand on it, closed his eyes, and carefully sensed the feeling in his heart. After a long time, he slowly felt a hint of something. This feeling is somewhat similar to when I first encountered the heavenly spirit. Is it hunger? No, it's not that I'm hungry. It's. Li Fan figured out something, and a hint of unusual brilliance flashed in his eyes. Truth is hungry. In the Tianquan mirror, Li Fan's original self, who was in seclusion practicing, suddenly stood up. The ritual was set up in an instant. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in the white bone realm. As he touched the remains of the young cultivator, the notification sound of truth echoed in Li Fan's mind. Discovered an absorbable item, eternal remembrance. Do you want to absorb it? A tremendous sense of joy surged into Li Fan's heart. Ever since he discovered more than 600 years ago that heavenly treasures could recharge truth, Li Fan had finally found the second type of item useful for truth. Heavenly treasures can increase the charging progress of anchors and unlock additional anchor points. I wonder what use this eternal remembrance has. Taking a deep breath, Li Fan forcefully suppressed the immediate urge to absorb it. After collecting the remains, Li Fan returned to the Tianquan mirror, made some preparations, and then quietly left 10,000 Immortals Island. In the previous life, the heavenly doctor's act of forcibly breaking into the Tianquan mirror had left Li Fan with a considerable psychological shadow. But at the same time, it made Li Fan understand that the Tianquan mirror was not absolutely safe. If anything abnormal occurred during the absorption of the eternal remembrance by truth, it would be even more dangerous within the Tianquan mirror, which was filled with cultivators. It was safer to randomly find a secluded and uninhabited place outside to isolate oneself. Ordinary cultivation in daily life was one thing, but when it involved truth, Li Fan decided to be more careful. Choosing a random teleportation formation, he left 10,000 Immortals Island. After leaving the island and flying for a long time, he arrived at a rarely visited sea area. Li Fan plunged into the sea with his head covered. While activating a concealing form talisman, he transformed truth into the 7-aperture exquisite heart and operated the heart-changing technique. After changing his appearance, Li Fan found a deep trench in the sea floor and dived into it. Instead of diving to the deepest part, he carved out a large hole into the trench wall. He dug deep into the rock for several kilometers before stopping. After creating a space deep within the earth, Li Fan turned around and sealed the passage he had dug. At the same time, he used a secret technique from the sun-stealing technique to conceal the traces. Returning to the hollow, he set up protective formations around. After all the arrangements were in place, Li Fan took out the skeleton once again. Discovered an absorbable item, eternal remembrance. Do you want to absorb it? Truth's prompt sound echoed again. This time, Li Fan chose yes. The surrounding space instantly became illusory. The bones on the ground gradually decomposed into a crystal clear white light which Li Fan absorbed. The moment the remains completely disappeared, Li Fan's mind shook violently. Tian Yang's soul, not weaker than man. The stubborn voice of a young child echoed continuously in his ears. Afterward, Li Fan's vision darkened, and he lost consciousness. He didn't know how long it took before he gradually woke up. At first, his eyes seemed a bit confused, but they quickly regained clarity. Just now, he seemed to have experienced an extremely vivid dream. No, rather than calling it a dream, it was more like truly inhabiting another person's life. Through this perspective, he lived through a long life. During this process, he could only see and hear, unable to control the body to make any movements. Furthermore, his own mental activity was suppressed to the lowest. From start to finish, Li Fan didn't even realize that something was wrong. And when Li Fan woke up, everything he had experienced quickly receded like a tidal wave. He couldn't remember what exactly he had gone through. Only some vague images remained, rapidly fading away. Li Fan didn't persist in trying to recall what had happened during the contact with the eternal remembrance. Because the prompt from truth had appeared once again. Although mortals may die, the eternal remembrance lives forever. Eternal remembrance Tianyang mortal absorption completed. Current usage count, 3. At the same time, many pieces of information naturally surfaced in Li Fan's mind. Li Fan squinted his eyes, carefully sensing. Consuming usage counts can simulate the construction of memory scenes within the eternal remembrance. Everything in the scene is indistinguishable from reality. But to bring back items and information from the scene to reality, it requires dissolving the obsession that maintains the eternal remembrance. Why does this manifestation resemble the fallen immortal realm so much? Li Fan was slightly stunned. Fallen immortal, eternal remembrance. Li Fan pondered for a moment and faintly developed some reasonable speculation. Dissolving obsession, maybe next time I enter the fallen immortal realm, I can try to approach it from this perspective. Temporarily suppressing these thoughts, Li Fan continued to feel the information feedback from truth. In the simulated scene, I will completely replace the owner of the eternal remembrance. At the same time, I will also synchronously receive relevant memories and abilities of the eternal remembrance owner. Consistent with the fallen immortal realm. After the consumption of all the usage counts, the eternal remembrance will completely disappear. Perhaps it can be understood this way. Truth uses the energy contained in eternal remembrance to simulate the construction of a miniature fallen immortal realm. Each simulation construction requires energy consumption. When the energy is exhausted, eternal remembrance will dissipate. However, Li Fan's mind stirred. According to Truth's prompt, eternal remembrance cannot be used as a bound item. However, after returning to the anchor point, he could find the carrier of the eternal remembrance again and absorb it once more. Perhaps other cultivators in this realm can use this eternal remembrance through different methods. But for them, the usage counts are limited. Once they cannot bring back the opportunities within the specified number of times, the eternal remembrance would be wasted for them. As for me, its usage counts infinite. Thinking of this, Li Fan no longer hesitated and activated Truth's mimicry function. A familiar sensation came, as if someone had put a sack over his head. Li Fan's vision darkened, and he instantly lost consciousness. Tianyang, Tianyang, a somewhat old voice gently called out in Li Fan's ears. Tianyang, it's time to take the medicine. A bowl of strange-tasting soup was poured into his mouth. It felt like a fire was burning in his stomach, and the immense pain instantly woke Li Fan up. Weakness. Extreme weakness. Weakness as if he would die at any moment. This was Li Fan's first perception after waking up. Chapter 230. Ancient Body Transformation Tao. Accompanying the overwhelming sense of weakness was the intermittent memory belonging to Tianyang himself. Master is a good person. Eldest senior brother is handsome and also a good person. Second senior brother is a bit weird but also a good person. Third senior brother is silent but is the best person. What a mess. Li Fan spent a long time sorting out the chaotic memories of Tianyang. He was picked up by his master from the wilderness and raised. Since childhood, he was weak and sickly, needing to take medicine every day to maintain his health. Fortunately, although the number of people in the sect was not large, all his senior brothers were exceptionally kind and doting. Struggling to lift his head, Li Fan, now in the body of a 5 or 6-year-old child, finally understood what was going on. Children have simple minds, and because Tianyang's body was very weak, his activities were limited to the small mountain gate. Furthermore, he spent most of his time in deep sleep. It was normal for his memories to only involve people close to him. I don't even know the names of my master and senior brothers. As for the sect and the ancient body transformation Tao, Li Fan, who had understood the general situation, was about to prop up his body to observe the surroundings. A wave of fatigue suddenly surged to his heart. The little guy's physique is really weak to an absurd extent. This thought flashed through Li Fan's mind, and he fell into a deep sleep again. In a daze, he didn't know how much time had passed. Li Fan seemed to hear a series of urgent and continuous bell sounds. He wanted to open his eyes but was unable to do so at all. Once again, he fell into another deep sleep. Next, Li Fan was awakened by the conversation coming from his ears. What nonsense is this immortal recruitment order? Why bother with it? Those major sects, members number in the thousands, and sending a few people is no big deal. However, we only have so few people studying the ancient body transformation Tao. Why should we go to the front line? What kind of logic is this? It sounded like second senior brother. He had a strange temperament and a straightforward character, always saying whatever he wanted. Nonsense. The immortal recruitment order jointly issued by the top 10 immortal sects can't be ignored just because you say so. Haven't you heard that the nearby Starfire Dao was wiped out because they refused to obey orders? To be honest, the Starfire Dao is much stronger than our ancient body transformation Dao. This brat doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, talking nonsense all the time. In the past, we could afford to ignore such matters. But times have changed, Ling Xiao. You must be cautious in your words and deeds, lest you bring trouble to the sect. The old voice sounded somewhat helpless, reprimanding in a deep voice. It was the same as the one who fed him medicine earlier. It was the sect master, the leader of the ancient body transformation Dao. Second senior brother, Ling Xiao, remained silent. An awkward silence filled the room. A cynical voice broke the silence. I'll go. After all, I'm the eldest senior brother. Just as well, let those barbarians see how sharp my sword is. Si Xing, the master sighed, patting the shoulder of the eldest senior brother. Eldest senior brother walked to the bedside, seemingly examining Tianyong, who was possessed by Li Fan. After a long time, he spoke, it's a pity that I can't wait for junior brother to wake up and bid him farewell. Li Fan felt a stir in his heart and was about to open his eyes to speak when he suddenly felt a wave of fatigue sweeping over his body again. Unable to resist, he fell into a drowsy sleep once more. After an unknown period, Li Fan woke up again. This time, his spirit was much better, and he could at least get out of bed and move around with some effort. Master! Master! Li Fan called out softly. Silence surrounded him, and no one was in sight. Junior brother Tianyong, are you awake? A man in white rushed over upon hearing the voice. He had disheveled hair and bloodshot eyes. Second senior brother, what happened to you? Where are master, eldest senior brother, and third senior brother? Why can't I see them? Li Fan couldn't help asking. Ling Xiao forced a smile. Don't worry, they're all discussing matters in the main hall. Look, this is the puppet I promised to give you. I went through a lot of trouble to exchange it with someone else. He took out a small humanoid puppet and handed it over. Li Fan took the puppet, carefully observed it, and found that its shape and appearance were quite similar to the Tianyong puppet seen in the future. With this puppet, if you're tired and can't walk, you can let it carry you everywhere. You won't have to ride on eldest senior brother every time, Ling Xiao said, gradually lowering his voice. Li Fan looked up and saw that second senior brother's eyes had turned red. Second senior brother, it's okay, you play with the puppet here for a while. I have to discuss matters with master and the others. Saying this, Ling Xiao patted Li Fan's head and turned away. After a while, Li Fan quietly followed. However, the door to the main hall was tightly closed, and it seemed to be protected by restrictions, making it impossible to see what was happening inside. Helpless, Li Fan decided to explore other places within the sect. Suddenly, he thought of something. Li Fan manipulated Tianyang's young body and struggled to reach the sect's ancestral hall. Using all his strength, Li Fan finally pushed open the heavy door. In the spirit tablets at the bottom, Li Fan found the one belonging to eldest senior brother, Si Xing. After contemplating for a moment, Li Fan paid his respects, slowly withdrew, and closed the door again. He wanted to go elsewhere, but the feeling of exhaustion in his body struck again. As if he had been starving for several days and nights, Li Fan's whole body began to tremble uncontrollably. Tianyang's body seems to have some hidden ailment, it's not just an ordinary weakness. Even walking became a problem. With a determined heart, Li Fan tried to control the small puppet in his hand. In an instant, the originally toy-sized puppet turned into the size of an adult. Under Li Fan's command, the puppet lifted him back to the room. This puppet seems to be just a little stronger than an ordinary person and doesn't have any cultivation. Lying on the bed, Li Fan thought about this, and then he couldn't hold on any longer, slowly falling asleep again. After a while, Li Fan was awakened by a thunderous sound. Esteemed envoy, please spare our ancient body transformation Tao. Including me, the ancient body transformation Tao only has 5 people in total. In just a few years, 2 of my disciples have tragically died on the front lines. If this continues, before the enemy arrives, the heritage of my ancient body transformation Tao will be severed. The master's desolate voice continued to narrate. But the other party seemed completely indifferent. Don't complain to me. I've seen sects far worse off than yours, so what? Within 7 days, you must send another person to join. Otherwise, whether one dies or all of you die, you choose. Chapter 231, Unyielding Throughout Life. The response from the other side was a deathly silence. After a moment, the voice softened, offering gentle persuasion. Guang Yangxi, you should understand that below a fallen nest, no intact eggs remain. It's not that we, the 10 great immortal sects, are forcing you. The situation on the battlefield is dire, and we have reached a critical moment. You small mountain sects may be miserable, but us leaders are not much better, you know. I won't hide it from you. In our Heavenly Sword sect, more than half of the masters and brothers of my generation alone have died in battle. I'm afraid that soon, I will also have to personally join the battle. At this stage of the war, there is no turning back. After a long time, Guang Yangxi sighed, I understand, old man. This time, let me go. Master, a slightly hoarse voice exclaimed, about to say something, but Guang Yangxi interrupted. My decision is made, no need to dissuade me. Good, courageous. Since that's the case, I won't stay for long. Remember, within 7 days, you must go to Kongyun Mountain and join us. After the envoy left, Guang Yangxi said to third senior brother, Lian Chong, come with me. Before we leave, there's something I need to tell you. Yes, master, Lian Chong choked out. The sound gradually faded away. Li Fan fell into a deep slumber again. Tian Yang. It's time to take your medicine. These recent herbs are distributed by those major sects. They are of much higher quality than what you used to take. In Li Fan's impression, the usually silent third senior brother suddenly became talkative. He fed Tian Yang medicine while sharing some interesting stories and rumors from the cultivation world. Third senior brother, is master not coming back like eldest senior brother and second senior brother? Li Fan suddenly asked. Lian Chang's movements suddenly froze. After a moment, he forced a smile and said, Junior brother, don't think too much. Resting and recuperating is the priority. Master will definitely come back. Definitely. Lian Chong repeated this sentence as if trying to convince himself. Li Fan nodded. After the medicine went down, a warm sensation spread through his abdomen, providing much comfort. As drowsiness engulfed him again, Li Fan fell into a deep sleep. Bang, bang, Li Fan was awakened by the sounds of a fight. Third senior brother's voice echoed from a distance, every time they say it's the final battle, a critical moment. How long has it been? How many people have died? It never ends. I won't go. You can kill me. Anyway, going to the front line means death. The other person's voice was filled with exhaustion. Lian Chong, don't force me to take action. Do you think you can die just because you want to? Turning you into an immortal puppet to fight in battle is also a way for me to fulfill my mission. However, your master, Guang Yangxi, saved my life on the battlefield. Before he died, I promised him to take care of the ancient body transformation Tao as much as I could. This time, I personally came to explain to you. It's already my benevolence. Otherwise, you would have been taken away directly. Make good use of the remaining time and say whatever needs to be said. That little guy named Tian Yang, Guang Yangxi also mentioned him to me. His physique is extremely compatible with your sect's ancient body transformation Tao. As long as he can survive the tribulation, he will undoubtedly revitalize the ancient body transformation Tao. I know that the ancient body transformation Tao has indeed sacrificed a lot, the envoy continued. When the war is won, during the merits distribution, I will apply to grant Tian Yang an extra Tai Shang Foundation establishment pill. This pill will help him change his fate, reforge his physique through marrow cleansing, and reshape his constitution. This is a peerless divine medicine of the Tai Shang sect, and even ordinary inner disciples of the Tai Shang sect are not qualified to take it. Under the continuous words of the envoy, Lian Chong was finally persuaded. I am willing to follow you to the front lines. However, I have a condition. I want this Tai Shang Foundation establishment pill before I depart, Lian Chong said resolutely. My junior brother's body is too weak, and he is always in a deep sleep. Without this pill to change his fate, he cannot take care of himself. The envoy sighed. After a long time, he said slowly, all right, I'll go and try. After the envoy left, Lian Chong approached Li Fan, seemingly saying a lot of things. However, in Li Fan's drowsy state, he couldn't hear anything clearly. After some time, Li Fan heard Lian Chang's excited voice, Junior brother, quickly take this pill. After taking it, you will recover to normal. Lian Chong fed the Tai Shang Foundation establishment pill to Li Fan, observed for a moment, and seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Another familiar voice sounded, all right, since the pill is fine, let's set off as soon as possible. If we delay the final battle, I can't guarantee your safety. Lian Chong patted Li Fan's head. Junior brother, take care. Footsteps gradually receded, and the gate closed with a bang. From then on, the ancient body transformation Tao fell into absolute silence. As Li Fan lay on the bed, half asleep and half awake, he felt the medicinal power of the Tai Shang Foundation establishment pill continuously radiating in his belly. Waves of heat flowed through his meridians, transforming his physique. It was more potent than all the previous medicines combined. Strength gradually returned to his body. Li Fan fell into a deep sleep once again. When he woke up, he found a long-lost vitality filling his body. His mind also became much clearer. Reflecting on what had happened to him since possessing Tian Yang's body, Li Fan couldn't help but feel a bit helpless. The weakness of this body far exceeded Li Fan's imagination. This made him unable to make any effective plans or strategies. He could only watch the plot unfold, just like the original Tian Yang. It seems that this first attempt is inevitably going to fail. But I didn't expect to gain anything on the first try anyway. Consider it as gathering information. With these thoughts, Li Fan explored the ancient body transformation Dao's cave. Other than the jade slip left by third senior brother, he didn't find anything valuable. The entrance to the cave was tightly sealed, and it couldn't be opened from the inside. After observing for a moment, Li Fan faintly sensed, this seems to be a restriction imposed by the ancient body transformation Dao itself, rather than an issue with the restriction being too strong. Can I only stay in this space? After pondering for a while, Li Fan returned to the room and started reading the contents of the jade slip. In addition to the inheritance of the ancient body transformation Dao, there was also a message of encouragement from third senior brother to Tian Yang. Junior brother, cultivate well at home and wait for my return. Master said that once your body recovers, your cultivation talent will not lose to anyone, including those direct disciples of those 10 great immortal sects. Come on, I'm counting on you. When you achieve cultivation success in the future, I'm counting on you to be my backer. ... After putting down the jade slip, Li Fan remained silent for a long time. Chapter 232, Endless Calamities. Exceptional cultivation talent, huh? Perhaps third senior brother only wanted to encourage Tian Yang before he died. If Tian Yang's talent were truly astonishing, how could he have stopped at the golden core stage during his lifetime? He needed to absorb and refine the Earth's power for thousands of years just to barely achieve soul transformation. He took an unconventional approach and deviated from the norm. Although he eventually became a soul transformation cultivator, it definitely had nothing to do with extraordinary talent. Li Fan shook his head and sighed to himself. After a while, Li Fan began to summarize the information he had gained during this period. Initially, when he first entered the Cloudwater Heavenly Palace, he learned from Qin Tang and the Jiyu Taoist about a massive and extremely brutal war that occurred in ancient times. Although he couldn't find any relevant records in the Tianquan Mirror, possibly due to the influence of those powerhouses above to cause cultivators to forget tragedies, the horrifying war scenes mentioned in Seeking Immortals hinted at the existence of such a war. From the eternal remembrance of Tian Yang, Li Fan gained a deeper understanding of the cruelty of this war. Even the small mountain sects in the cultivation world at that time were almost completely annihilated. It could be imagined how devastating this war was. Who were the two sides in the war? And what were they fighting for? Tian Yang's eldest senior brother, Si Xing, had disdainfully referred to the other side in the conflict as barbarians. But judging from the results, the strength of the opposing side was definitely not weak. Although the 10 great immortal sects ultimately emerged victorious, it could only be described as a disastrous victory. Li Fan, having encountered powerful Dao integration cultivators in his reincarnations, knew how terrifying they were. However, during ancient times, Dao integration powerhouses were not rare. In fact, they were quite numerous in those powerful sects. Not to mention, the 10 great immortal sects undoubtedly had the presence of longevity immortals. Just thinking about it made it clear that when these sects united, they formed a formidable force. What kind of enemy could push cultivators to such a desperate situation? Li Fan was full of doubts. The truth was hidden in the fog of history. Even with so many opportunities, Li Fan had only glimpsed a small part of it. To truly understand what happened back then, Li Fan needed more information. Thinking of this, Li Fan quietly suppressed the scattered thoughts about the ancient war in his mind and turned his attention to another matter. In the ancient war era, sects prospered. The alliance of the 10 great immortal sects held absolute dominion over the entire cultivation world. Even in the jade slip left by senior brother Lian Chong, there is no record of the new law of plundering the heavens and earth. So it can be inferred that the ancient war era should have been before the immortal ancestors' teachings. Perhaps it was precisely because of this ancient war that these ancient sects suffered significant damage to their vitality. The immortal ancestors' new law could only develop fully in the space created by this war. With the arrival of this reform period, the new law eventually replaced the old ones. However, over the years, the cultivation world returned to its former glory. Yet, as cultivators plundered the heavens and the earth, they faced the backlash of the heavens and the earth. Cultivators could not practice the same technique, and the Great Calamity Era suddenly arrived. In the early stages of the Great Calamity Era, inevitable conflicts occurred, but the overall order could still be maintained. But as time passed, more and more cultivators approached their lifespan limits, and collapse became inevitable. At this critical moment, the immortal mortal miasma erupted. This is what they call the Great Plague Era. Faced with the threat of the immortal mortal miasma, cultivators had to temporarily halt the mutual slaughter and seek ways to solve the problem of the immortal mortal miasma. The mass slaughter of mortals was ineffective, so they could only relocate them to nearby subworlds. When this world was devoid of mortals, the problem of immortal mortal miasma was completely resolved. True chaos and slaughter arrived. The orthodox order of the cultivation world, which had lasted for countless years, collapsed overnight. Everything fell apart, and cultivators became like ants, struggling for survival. This period was the Great Dark Age. Even the darkest days will always pass. When the number of cultivators dropped to a minimum, the slaughter finally ceased. At this point, the cultivation world had already become a desolate. Only solitary cultivators, who had survived the Great Dark Age, lived in this desolate land. This period can be referred to as the Desolate Age. After that, the establishment of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance and the 5 Elders Association heralded the emergence of a new cultivation order in the Xuanwang realm. Li Fan organized various observations since entering the cultivation world. A clear historical progression slowly emerged. The vitality of the cultivator civilization is truly tenacious. Li Fan couldn't help but sigh. Even after experiencing so many calamities, after nearly going extinct, they can still sprout and grow anew from the ruins. Thinking ahead, Li Fan realized that his future opponents might be old monsters who had survived each of those calamitous periods one after another. Li Fan couldn't help but feel his scalp tingling. However, he was fearless. I can fail countless times. But no matter what cultivation level you guys are at, as long as you guys fail once, you guys have completely lost. What do I have to fear? I will execute those who obstruct my longevity. Li Fan had already understood that this new order in the Xuanwang realm was somewhat similar to the fish gambling. Just becoming the new fish king was not enough to survive. He also had to evade the collective hunting of those ancient fish kings who were watching eagerly before he could truly have the qualifications to control his destiny. His thoughts gradually calmed. The world of truth's simulation was not over yet. Li Fan speculated that Tian Yang's plot had not yet concluded. Moreover, in this world similar to the fallen immortal realm, time flow was not consistent with the real world. Li Fan was in no hurry to leave. He decided to stay in the cave and use Tian Yang's body to cultivate the ancient body transformation Tao. Practicing the ancient method was a novel experience for Li Fan. Unlike the direct and brutal nature of the new law, the old method emphasized understanding the cultivation technique itself and contemplating the Tao. Compared to the mechanical and repetitive cultivation process of the new law, Li Fan found the practice of the old method to be more enjoyable. Of course, this was because Li Fan's current body could cultivate. For an ordinary person without the aptitude for cultivation, it would not be so enjoyable. Without the need for rare heavenly treasures, Li Fan broke through to the foundation establishment stage after reaching perfection of qi condensation. Following a natural progression, Li Fan advanced rapidly, reaching the mid-foundation establishment, late foundation establishment, until he finally stopped after achieving the perfection of foundation establishment. Chapter 233, External Body Transformation. Li Fan had no experience in the formation of the golden core. Furthermore, the jade slip left by third senior brother had very little description on this matter. In his ignorance, Li Fan had to explore and try on his own. Core formation, whether in the ancient or modern cultivation world, is an extremely difficult process. The disparity in strength before and after core formation is like night and day. Hence the saying, upon forming a golden core, my destiny is controlled by me. Li Fan took advantage of this rare opportunity to try the method of core formation on someone else's body, paving the way for his own cultivation. While immersed in cultivation, unaware of the passing time, a loud explosion startled him. Boom! The gate of the cave shook as if continuously bombarded. The entire cave trembled instantly. Li Fan had to stop his cultivation and be on guard. Before long, the gate was shattered. A group of people also broke in simultaneously. This is it, the cave of the ancient body transformation Tao. Brothers, is the place I found suitable. Abundant spiritual energy, treacherous terrain, easy to defend and difficult to attack. It's a great place to establish a sect. They say all the disciples of the sect died in the previous battle, so it's a good deal for us. Clever, saved us a lot of effort. 7 cultivators with different attire and a fierce appearance conversed with each other. As if they were at their own homes, they casually strolled around the cave. Wait a minute, it seems like there's still someone inside. Be vigilant. The cave of ancient body transformation Tao was just a small place. Inevitably, not long after, they discovered Li Fan's presence. The group immediately surrounded Li Fan tightly. With a glance, Li Fan couldn't help but feel a sinking feeling. 2 were in the golden core stage, and 5 were in the foundation establishment stage. It seems that this journey of core formation is going to end here, Li Fan thought to himself. The people across from him, looking at Li Fan who was surrounded in the middle, showed hesitation and began to communicate. Boss, what should we do? It seems like ancient body transformation Tao sect still left a little kid to guard the place. Humph, after finally finding such a decent cave, how could we just let it go like this? Second brother is right. In my opinion, we should just kill this kid. No one will know. This doesn't seem right. He looks like he's only 5 or 6 years old. Why not just drive him away? A woman's kindness. If we let him go, he might spread the news everywhere about us forcibly taking over his cave. Moreover, a 5 or 6-year-old in the foundation establishment stage has a frightening talent for cultivation. In a few years, when he reaches the golden core stage or even the nascent soul stage, he might come back for revenge. Sixth brother has a point, just kill him directly. But the 10 great immortal sects jointly issued a prohibition order, commanding us to recuperate and forbidding killing. If someone finds out, we might be captured for forced mating. The discussion left everyone pale, and the fierce expressions in their eyes became panicked. In the end, the leader of the group made the final decision. Since it has come to this, there's no argument for leaving. I would have some reservations in killing a golden core cultivator, but a foundation establishment cultivator. He can't even be considered cannon fodder. Even if the immortal sects find out, they won't really do anything to us. Attack, the leader ordered, but he himself remained motionless. The 5 foundation establishment cultivators exchanged glances. Helplessly, not daring to defy the order, they took out their respective spiritual weapons and attacked Li Fan. Although it's true that they have an absolute advantage in strength, they didn't ask for my opinion from beginning to end. Perhaps they are underestimating me too much. A murderous intent flashed in Li Fan's eyes. I originally wanted to go back directly, but now, I might as well have some fun with you. 3 swords, an iron hammer, and a small seal. 5 different spiritual weapons emitted light, all flying towards Li Fan at the same time. Li Fan's figure remained still as he activated the secret technique of ancient body transformation Tao. His spiritual consciousness detached, transforming into 5 and attaching to the 5 spiritual weapons. With a thought, Li Fan felt as if these 5 spiritual weapons had become a part of his own body. Commanding them effortlessly, he manipulated them to attack the 5 Foundation Establishment cultivators. It turns out they are a bunch of ignorant fools who don't understand the art of spiritual weapon cultivation. Li Fan sneered in his heart. This secret technique in the ancient body transformation Tao was called external body transformation. It could influence and control the spiritual weapons of other cultivators, often having a miraculous effect in crucial moments of battle. Of course, the effectiveness varied depending on the cultivator's control over their own spiritual weapons. A situation like now, where Li Fan easily gained control over the spiritual weapons, rarely happened. It could only mean that the other 5 had not even performed the most basic spiritual weapon refinement. It was as if they had picked up the spiritual weapons from the ground and started using them directly. There wasn't a shred of common sense at all. The sudden reversal of the spiritual weapons caught the 5 off guard. Amidst cries of surprise, they frantically attempted to resist. The strength of these individuals was indeed mediocre, and in the chaos, they each suffered setbacks. Naturally, Li Fan took advantage of their disarray. Manipulating the 5 spiritual weapons, he launched continuous attacks like a violent storm. Against the odds of 1 versus 5, he unexpectedly rendered them powerless to fight back. As victory seemed imminent, the leader among the 7 could no longer sit still. What a group of useless people! He cursed loudly. Subsequently, he summoned a frost-emitting flying sword that was overflowing with light. Carrying the formidable power of the golden core, it slashed towards Li Fan. Li Fan moved his spiritual consciousness, attempting to control the flying sword. However, it only paused briefly, and in the next instant, it pierced through Li Fan's body. The disparity in cultivation levels is too great. No secret technique can compensate for it. The surroundings froze and then shattered one by one. As if emerging from the depths of water in an instant, Li Fan returned to the real world. In the truth panel, the usage count for eternal remembrance had changed to 2. Attempting to recall the content of the ancient body transformation Tao technique was futile. However, his personal experiences were vividly imprinted in his mind. After contemplating for a moment, Li Fan did not immediately make a second attempt. Instead, after erasing all traces underwater, he returned to his original appearance. Silently, he went back to 10,000 Immortals Island. It seems that if I want to escape the situation, there are 2 places to start from. The first is to find a method to cure Tian Yang's weakened condition, participating in the plot development in the early stages. Given the variables, it might produce a different result. The second is to cultivate to the Golden Core realm during the period after taking the Tai Sheng Foundation Establishment pill. Defeating those 7 people will unlock the subsequent plot. Well, no rush. Let's investigate what's going on with Tian Yang first. At that moment, Li Fan searched for keywords in the Tianquan mirror. Weakness, unconsciousness, a body that doesn't grow. After a moment, dozens of pieces of information popped up. Fetus not fully developed, forcibly expelled from the body by a female cultivator. Innate frailty, insufficient essence. Needs a powerful tonic to replenish innate energy for treatment. Chapter 234. Hidden potential in the human body. So, he's a premature baby. It's not that difficult to treat, but Yin Yang Dragon Tiger Pill, Innate Qi Replenishing Pill, Essence Nurturing Pill. Li Fan looked at the names of the required medicinal pills for treatment and the materials needed for alchemy, shaking his head silently. The small mountain sect of the ancient body transformation Tao doesn't have any alchemy techniques. Moreover, it is quite impoverished, with limited resources. Even if we know these pills are effective, it's not guaranteed that we can find them. Besides, whether these pills existed thousands of years ago is still uncertain. Li Fan went through all the remaining information, and the other common approach was to use heavenly treasures to replenish the deficient body. However, none of them were suitable for the situation Tian Yang was in. A cultivator with innate weakness to the extent of Tian Yang's condition was indeed very rare. Since the establishment of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance, there have been only a few such cases. It could be considered a difficult case, and there weren't many references for Li Fan. Do I have to pursue the method of breaking through to the Golden Core realm after all? Wait a moment, why did I forget about this? Li Fan was momentarily stunned, then suddenly realized. Activating the Divine Transformation Tao, he quickly perused the Heavenly Doctor's Immortal Sutra, recorded in his mind. Although Li Fan had memorized the entire medical scripture, the content of this medical book was too vast. Previously, it was stored in the blue crystal in his mind, and he couldn't use it at will with just a thought. Because of this, he would instinctively overlook it. The Heavenly Doctor's Immortal Sutra was indeed profound, not disappointing Li Fan. Soon, Li Fan found the description of the corresponding ailment. Excessive sleepiness, stunted growth, all such symptoms are due to insufficient innate essence and energy. To cure this condition, there are 3 methods. The first is supplementation, the second is peril, and the third is poison. Li Fan went through the 3 methods in the medical scripture one by one, silently admiring. The path of medicine is truly not to be underestimated. The so-called supplementation was the method Li Fan had found earlier in the Tianshuan mirror, using heavenly treasures to supplement innate essence and energy. The other 2 methods, peril and poison, were intriguing. According to the medical scripture, although those with this condition had innate deficiencies, as long as they survived for a year after birth, they would have a complete constitution and become a whole entity. The human body contains infinite hidden potential, but ordinary means cannot stimulate or invoke it. Only during deep sleep, ignorant and unconscious, could one instinctively harness the vitality within the body to make up for the innate deficiencies. This was also why those with innate weaknesses often fell into prolonged periods of deep sleep. The principles of the peril and poison treatment methods were based on this theoretical foundation. The basic principle was the same, with poison being more extreme and peril being more conservative and moderate. Both methods aim to forcefully stimulate the body's potential vitality by taking drugs to eliminate the innate weakness. If the vitality in the body was compared to water, then innate weakness was like a prolonged drought, leaving the land cracked and lacking water. The body's hidden potential was like a vast reservoir upstream. The method of poison was to directly explode the reservoir, taking a desperate chance and seeking survival amidst death. It was suitable for desperate situations where there was no other choice. The method of peril was to periodically open the floodgates, releasing water from time to replenish the body's essence and energy. At the same time, it drew water from other rivers, using a dual approach. These 2 methods may seem unbelievable, but they have their own rationale. People often unleash far greater power in desperate situations. The hidden potential within the human body. Could this be the Heavenly Doctor's path? Perhaps, while practicing cultivation and deploying formations, it would be good to study the Heavenly Doctor's Immortal Sutra. Having found a solution, Li Fan didn't rush to use the eternal remembrance again. Instead, he checked the sparring situation of Zhang Qinmo in, discussing Tao while seated. 98 wins, 28 draws. Still, no winner had emerged. As Zhang Qinmo's victories increased, he attracted more attention. The challengers also grew stronger continuously. One cultivator named, I Am Invincible, seemed to have created a character based on himself. He had launched 5 or 6 challenges in a row. Although he was defeated each time, the duration of the battles gradually increased. After the last battle, he excitedly sent a message, claiming to have figured out a way to defeat Zhang Qinmo. Once he cultivated well, he would immediately come to challenge. Li Fan was quite looking forward to this. According to the explanation from Truth on using the eternal remembrance to simulate the creation of the world, Li Fan had an idea about why he had been trapped in Ningyuan City in the fallen immortal realm. It should still be influenced by obsession. Just like being unable to leave Tianyang Cave, without resolving the obsession, I'll never be able to leave Ningyuan City. As for whose obsession and what obsession? At present, the biggest possibility is Zhang Qinmo. Perhaps defeating him could bring about some different changes. I hope this, I Am Invincible, lives up to his name and doesn't disappoint me. Closing, discussing Tao while seated, Li Fan then checked the situation on Xiaoheng's side. Since receiving the guidance from Senior Skull, Xiaoheng had already begun taking action. Su Xiaomei officially entered the White Bone Realm and received Li Fan's 6 desires without form. Upon stepping into the Qi condensation stage, her cultivation soared. Su Chengyu still hadn't completed the removal of the immortal mortal miasma in her body, but perhaps due to her young age, the progress was much faster than before. It was estimated that within a year or two, she could successfully draw in spiritual energy. Xiao Heng brought the wandering Yin sisters to the deserted island and taught them the method to dispel the miasma. The same went for Zhang Haobo. However, during this process, there was a somewhat amusing episode that left Li Fan amused. As Yi Feipeng had been wandering alone for many years, secretive about his activities, and often did not respond when Xiao Heng tried to contact him, Xiao Heng had to handle all these matters alone. So, when Yi Feipeng returned with an excited expression, he suddenly saw Zhang Haobo standing on the beach, calmly looking at him. The slightly guilty fatty thought that someone had discovered he had taken Zhang Haobo's opportunity and believed that someone had come to seek revenge. Yi Feipeng was immediately frightened out of his wits. Before this former Dao integration immortal sage, he didn't have the slightest thought of resistance. Instead, he chose to flee without looking back, at a speed several times faster than when he came. He didn't stop until he thought he was completely safe, and only then did he stop with a heart still full of lingering fear. Leaving Zhang Haobo standing on the beach in utter confusion. In the end, after Yi Feipeng and Xiao Heng communicated, they resolved the misunderstanding. However, for the time being, Yi Feipeng didn't have the face to return to the deserted island. He continued chasing after wind disasters in the Kongyun Sea. Chapter 235. Marvelous brushstrokes write a splendid chapter. Through the vision of heaven and earth, Li Fan saw that there were occasional blue light dots surging around Yi Feipeng. It seems that Yi Feipeng's plan to attract the attention of the Kongyun Sea is proceeding smoothly. The children's cultivation paths were gradually getting on track. He Zhenghao also didn't lag behind. During this period, most of the feedback on Li Fan's cultivation progress came from He Zhenghao. Although his cultivation speed was not as rapid as those prodigies, considering his similar cultivation level to Li Fan, the feedback was much greater. Not long ago, he sent Li Fan a message with palpitations. He mentioned that his friend had invited him to explore a cave, but at that time, he was in closed-door cultivation and couldn't respond. After completing his cultivation, he was shocked to learn that the exploration team of his friend had been completely wiped out. Moreover, the cave didn't house a golden core cultivator, but instead, a soul transformation puppet. Reflecting on the narrow escape, He Zhenghao couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. The path of cultivation is truly perilous. Any slight mistake can lead to death. My brother, Wei Qizheng has quite impressive talent in cultivation. Many thought he would reach the golden core stage within a few years, but who would have thought he would be gone so easily? He Zhenghao shuddered afterward. Li Fan casually comforted He Zhenghao with a few words, reminding him not to wander around recklessly. Incidentally, he waived He Zhenghao's interest for the next year, urging him to focus on cultivation. He Zhenghao repeatedly agreed. With the increasing number of people invested in, the feedback from the mountain meditation technique I receive every day is growing. I believe that in a few more years, it will almost match the progress I can achieve through constant closed-door cultivation. The benefit of sitting back and waiting for success is that even if I allocate some energy to do other things, I can still enjoy the continuous growth of my cultivation. Everything was progressing smoothly, and Li Fan felt content. After leaving 10,000 Immortals Island, he found a secluded underwater retreat, commencing the second round of the Eternal Remembrance simulation. The surroundings changed suddenly, and Li Fan once again arrived at the cave from thousands of years ago. Tian Yang, it's time to take the medicine. The familiar opening line. Li Fan drank the medicinal soup, forcing himself to focus with the help of the brief surge of warmth in his body. Quickly, he whispered, "Master, this medicine doesn't have much effect. Next time, please change it for me." Ignoring the stunned Tian Yangtze, he hastily provided the prescription. His body was so weak that even speaking was extremely difficult. As if exhausting all the vitality in his body, Li Fan soon fell into a deep slumber. When Li Fan woke up and drank the medicine again, the warmth surging in his body was accompanied by an unbearable piercing pain. Countless fine needles seemed to be constantly piercing all over his body, and Li Fan's face turned extremely pale in an instant, sweat streaming down his entire body. "Tian Yang, junior brother," urgent concerned voices consecutively rang out one after another. Gritting his teeth, Li Fan replied in a low voice, I'm fine. Master, the prescription is very effective. Please don't change it next time." After saying this, Li Fan fainted. During the coma, he vaguely felt that his body was shaking and convulsing under extreme pain. As if he could die at any moment. But deep within his seemingly exhausted body, A pure and vigorous vitality began to quietly emerge. It really works. Li Fan relaxed in his heart, then completely lost consciousness. In the following years, Li Fan gradually replenished the deficiency in his body using the peril technique from the Heavenly Doctor's Immortal Sutra. The time spent in deep sleep became less and less, and slowly, he could occasionally get out of bed and walk. When the people of ancient body transformation Tao were curious and inquired about the source of the prescription, Li Fan innocently expressed that he didn't know either. The prescription appeared in his mind automatically. The master and disciples of the ancient body transformation Tao were naturally amazed. However, they didn't pay much attention, attributing it to the extraordinary luck and destiny of their junior brother. After all, in the vast cultivation world, there had been all kinds of miraculous events. Junior brother, you are indeed quite lucky. There are several medicinal ingredients in the prescription you provided that we've never heard of. We asked around the nearby markets, but couldn't find anyone selling them. Some even said that these herbs simply don't exist in the cultivation world. Hee, we didn't believe it. How could it be that all the other herbs in the prescription exist, but these few are non-existent? We argued with them based on reason, and a disciple from the Medicine King sect happened to pass by. Hearing our argument, he was curious and asked for the details of our prescription. Then, based on the pharmacology, he selected several common herbs as substitutes for us. Only then were you able to drink this medicine. Junior brother Tian Yang's health was gradually improving. The faces of the ancient body transformation Tao members also became much brighter. Second senior brother Ling Xiao, the talkative one, narrated the twists and turns to Li Fan. Eldest senior brother Si Xing and third senior brother Lian Chong smiled and listened quietly. The days passed warmly and calmly. Li Fan was gradually able to move around normally. However, the ancient body transformation Tao members only allowed him to stay in the cave on the grounds that it was very dangerous outside. Li Fan speculated that this might also be a restriction of the eternal remembrance itself. This simulated world, constructed based on Tian Yang's eternal remembrance, was not like the fallen immortal realm, which was almost a real world. It was impossible to let Li Fan roam around without restrictions. He didn't mind it much. During ordinary times, while practicing the ancient body transformation Tao technique, whenever there was an opportunity, he chatted with his senior brothers to gather information. These senior brothers were very caring toward Tian Yang and answered any questions, but only related to the disciples and master of the ancient body transformation Tao. As soon as the topic shifted to other matters in the cultivation world, they would smile and evade. It was regrettable that Li Fan couldn't gain a more thorough understanding of the ancient cultivation world. But these three senior brothers of the ancient body transformation Tao indeed left a deep impression on Li Fan. The most important thing in practicing external body transformation was to choose a transformation object. Eldest senior brother Si Xing, with a late golden core cultivation, had a thin, emerald green longsword as his transformation object. When they were integrated as one, the sword could move like the wind, silently taking the heads of cultivators thousands of miles away. He could be considered the strongest among the disciples of the ancient body transformation Tao in terms of combat power. Third senior brother Lian Chong, with a mid-golden core cultivation, had a copper bell as his transformation object. It had extremely strong defense capabilities and could emit sound waves to deter enemies, shaking their hearts and souls. As for second senior brother Ling Xiao, things were a bit peculiar. Although he also had a mid-golden core cultivation, his transformation object was a pen. It didn't have any special means to harm the enemy. Its only remarkable aspect was its ability to independently record what he perceived and thought in his mind through words and images. With beautiful and delicate writing, it made people feel like they were present, unable to stop reading. Because of this, Ling Xiao could create astonishing literary works almost every day at an alarming speed. As for what kind of works they were, one day, when Li Fan was awakened by the meowing of a cat. When he came out and saw Ling Xiao controlling a tomcat, playing with another group of cats, it was more than clear. Li Fan suddenly remembered that the ancient body transformation Tao, despite being a small mountain sect, would become renowned far beyond the current major sects thousands of years later. All thanks to these splendid works. Chapter 236, 100 Lives Pearl. Second senior brother Ling Xiao had very thick skin. Caught red-handed doing something mischievous by his junior brother, he showed no signs of guilt. He even winked, asking Li Fan if he wanted to give it a try. Before Li Fan could respond, the sword of eldest senior brother arrived in an instant. A murderous aura pervaded, scattering the mischievous cats in all directions. Second senior brother, embarrassed, gave a wry smile, put away his pen, and sneakily escaped the cave to find new toys for his amusement. Junior brother, you must never imitate your second senior brother. When choosing a transformation object, you should go for something more serious. Eldest senior brother Sung earnestly advised Li Fan. Li Fan nodded repeatedly in agreement. There were many interesting incidents like this. In general, the atmosphere within the ancient body transformation Dao sect was harmonious and friendly. In this environment, Li Fan continued to stimulate the hidden potential within his body, strengthening his frail body, all while practicing external body transformation. In the 6th year after Li Fan possessed Tian Yang's body and entered the simulated world, a series of urgent and breathtaking bell chimes echoed from the distant horizon. As the bell chimes reached his ears, Li Fan felt a surge of blood and energy throughout his body, and an inexplicable fear filled his heart. All the senior brothers, each engrossed in their activities, were also abruptly awakened. This bell chime, is it the Immortal summons bell? The several senior brothers who rushed over showed expressions of shock. The last time the Immortal summons bell rang, I remember it was because the Longevity clan, which was kept by the sects as livestock, collectively rebelled, right? That's right. At that time, the 10 great immortal sects issued a wanted order. Anyone who caught any of the fleeing Longevity clan members would be rewarded with 100 lives pearl, adding dozens or even hundreds of years to their lifespan. The temptation of living 100 more years is something not many cultivators can resist. To compete for the heads of those runaway Longevity clan members, cultivators went on a killing spree, creating a huge bloodbath. I wonder what major event has happened in the cultivation world this time. The senior brothers discussed with astonishment. Li Fan, silently listening on the side, took advantage of the pause in their conversation, putting on a curious expression. Senior brothers, what are the Longevity clan and the 100 lives pearl? This time, the senior brothers didn't avoid the question as they usually did when asked about other matters. Second senior brother Ling Xiao sighed and, with envy in his eyes, said, Junior brother, you must know, the heavens have never been fair. For ordinary humans, living over 100 years is considered long-lived. Even for cultivators, if they haven't reached the Longevity immortal realm, a lifespan of a few thousand years is the limit. After a pause, Ling Xiao continued with a faint tone, however, in this world, some creatures are naturally gifted with extremely long lifespans. Even ordinary members of their tribes, without powerful cultivation, can easily live for 1,000 or 2,000 years. For people with short lifespans like humans, this is truly unfair. Longevity clan. Li Fan's heart stirred. Before his transmigration, he had read about similar settings for the Longevity clan in various web novels. But in the real cultivation world, he had never seen any information about the Longevity clan. Not to mention witnessing a living Longevity clan member. Senior brothers, what do these Longevity clan members look like? Are they similar to the mythical creatures in legends? Li Fan looked at Ling Xiao with innocent eyes, asking aloud. Ling Xiao patted his junior disciple's head, explaining, there are many variations. Some look like spiritual beasts but can speak human language. Some are like plant and tree spirits. Some of them look similar to humans, and each one is extremely beautiful. By the way, junior brother, I once wrote a book called Tales of Wind and Moon, and the main characters were the Longevity clan members from a distant continent. Let me check if I still have a copy. Ling Xiao's topic suddenly changed, and his face became excited. Before he could finish, the expression on eldest senior brother's face darkened as he appeared behind Ling Xiao. Second senior brother had to awkwardly halt the inappropriate topic and get back on track. What was I saying just now? Right, the Longevity clan. There is a special type of Longevity clan member. They look almost identical to ordinary humans, or you could say, they are humans. The only special thing is that they possess lifespans that are difficult for ordinary people to reach. These people hide among the crowds, living cautiously. Every once in a while, they change their appearance and identity to avoid being discovered. Li Fan immediately asked, why are they afraid of being discovered? Does it have anything to do with those 100 lives pearls? Ling Xiao said seriously, Junior brother, imagine this. You can only live a little over 100 years, and by that time, you are already considered old. But when others are several hundred or even over 1,000 years old, they still look as young as ever. Wouldn't you find it unfair and infuriating? Li Fan nodded vigorously, it's infuriating. It's so unfair. Yes, normal people find it hard to tolerate such a disparity. As I mentioned earlier, some longevity clan members don't have formidable cultivations. HMPH, it's their own fault. Those cultivators who reach soul transformation or Tao integration stage but have no hope of longevity, how can they not envy those longevity clan members? Ling Xiao lowered his voice. Those major immortal sects possess a secret technique called life Tao transformation, which can extract lifespan from living beings and utilize it. And the lifespan extracted from longevity clan members is the purest. Drawing from tens of thousands of ordinary people over the years can only condense a few longevity fruits, adding 100 or so years to their lifespan. But the lifespan provided by a longevity clan member can be refined into dozens or even hundreds of 100 lives pearls. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of greed. The higher the cultivation of the longevity clan member, the higher the quality of the refined 100 lives pearls. Back then, I was fortunate enough to participate in a hunt for longevity clan members and received a 100 lives pearl. After swallowing it, I felt as if I were floating, as if I had returned to my youth. That feeling, Ling Xiao smacked his lips, savoring the memory. 100 lives pearl, is only like that. I really wonder what the legendary 1,000 lives pearl, or even the 10,000 lives pearl, tastes like. At this moment, the usually silent third senior brother suddenly spoke. Xiao Xiao, with your cultivation, even if you managed to swallow 1,000 lives pearl by chance, it would only mean it would be your fate to have your lifespan extracted. 1. Ling Xiao looked at Liang Chong with a disgruntled expression. Xiao Xiao. Is that how you address me? Old third, you're really becoming more and more disrespectful. Third senior brother, with an amused expression, looked at Ling Xiao. What? Do you want to spar with me? But Ling Xiao wasn't backing down. It seems like I haven't shown my dominance as a senior brother in a long time, making you have this misconception. Today, I will completely demonstrate my authority as a senior brother. After saying that, the two of them started fighting. Meanwhile, eldest senior brother stood by, smiling and watching. What a warm and harmonious scene. However, soon after, the storm of war would shatter everything. Asterisk 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 asterisk. 1. Xiao Xiao is like an endearing way of addressing Ling Xiao as if a parent had addressed their child. Chapter 237. Legacy passing across generations. 3 months after the Immortal summons bell rang. The Immortal recruitment order arrived as promised. The disciples of the ancient body transformation Tao gathered together to discuss strategies. Li Fan also wanted to quietly approach, but his master, Master Guang Yangxi, sternly pulled him out, leaving him to eavesdrop vaguely outside the door. What nonsense, Immortal recruitment order. Why bother with it? Those major sects have thousands of members, dispatching some of their own won't be a problem. We only have so few people studying the ancient body transformation Tao, and they still want us to go to the front lines. What kind of reasoning is this? Second senior brother's remarks were in line with Li Fan's previous experience. The final result was consistent with Li Fan's previous experiences. Eldest senior brother went to the front lines first. Before he left, everyone bid him a tearful farewell. Li Fan asked eldest senior brother whom he was going to fight. Xing just smiled and patted his junior brother's head, saying he was going to fight the bad guys. Then, transforming into a ray of green light, he broke through the air and left. With eldest senior brother gone, the atmosphere in the ancient body transformation Tao became much more somber. Thankfully, there was still second senior brother, an active character who livened up the atmosphere and could bring laughter occasionally. Li Fan successfully broke through to the foundation establishment stage, bringing a period of celebration to the ancient body transformation Tao. However, joy is always short-lived. 1 year and 3 months after Xing left, bad news arrived. Eldest senior brother died on the battlefield. Second senior brother was full of grief and indignation. According to the information he obtained privately, this was due to the 10 great immortal sects underestimating the enemy. The battle started off smoothly. The enemy retreated step by step. However, the team led by the 10 great immortal sects seriously underestimated the power of the enemy. In a pursuit, they were ambushed and caught off guard. The losses were heavy, and the front line became extremely precarious. So the sects issued another immortal recruitment order. Although there were 100 grudges in the hearts of the sects, under absolute pressure, as long as the ancient body transformation Tao did not want to be completely wiped out like other small sects, they had to obey orders and enlist again. This time, second senior brother headed to the war front. For this reason, second senior brother had a fierce fight with third senior brother. In the past, when the two senior brothers sparred, third senior brother Lian Chong would usually have a slight advantage. This time, to prevent the other from sacrificing themselves, both displayed their true abilities. However, this time, Lian Chong lost. Second senior brother Ling Xiao was very powerful. His brush splashed ink into the air, instantly drawing dozens of flying swords. Although they were constructed with a brush, they appeared as if they were real. Whistling, they collided with Lian Cheng's protective copper bell. The brush kept moving, and countless illusionary spiritual weapons formed continuously, ceaselessly attacking. Lian Chong had almost no ability to fight back. It turned out Ling Xiao had been letting his junior brother win all along. Lian Chong was dismayed. Ling Xiao, however, bid farewell with a smile. Before leaving, he handed over dozens of yet-to-be-sold works that he had written to Li Fan for safekeeping. He instructed Li Fan not to sneak a peek. If Li Fan couldn't resist, he should exercise moderation. Then, he left in a carefree manner. After second senior brother Ling Xiao left, the ancient body transformation Dao fell into complete silence. Master Guang Yangxi watched as each of his disciples left, and he seemed to age significantly. Third senior brother, Lian Chong, was already a silent individual. After being stimulated, he began practicing like a madman. Li Fan did the same. 2 years and 3 months after Ling Xiao left, the Immortal recruitment order came once again. However, senior brother Ling Xiao never returned. Perhaps considering the possibility of resistance, the 10 great Immortal sects sent an Immortal recruitment envoy this time. If there was any disobedience, they would be killed without mercy. Similar to the previous experience, after some persuasion, Guang Yangxi went to the battlefield. In the ancient body transformation Dao's cave, only Li Fan and third senior brother Lian Chong remained. Li Fan had already known the direction of events. But as a mere foundation establishment cultivator, how could he resist the overwhelming trend? He could only watch helplessly as things unfolded once again. This time, the battle seemed even more brutal than the previous 2 periods combined. Just 6 months later, the exhausted Immortal recruitment envoy returned, bringing orders from the 10 great Immortal sects. This battle has reached a crucial moment. All sects and loose cultivators must cooperate and overcome the current difficulties together. If anyone disobeys orders, delays the battle, spreads rumors, or attempts to betray, they will be killed without mercy. The authority of the Immortal recruitment envoy was imposing. Using the youngest cultivator in the ancient body transformation Dao, Li Fan, as leverage, the envoy made various empty promises. Eventually, even Lian Chong, with tightly clenched fists, agreed to the Immortal recruitment envoy. Before leaving, Lian Chong left a jade slip for Li Fan. It contained the cultivation experiences of the ancient body transformation Dao's ancestors. He instructed Li Fan not to go out easily, then closed the gate decisively and left. The ancient body transformation Dao was once again left with only Li Fan. He returned to the original course of history. Looking back at this simulation, Li Fan felt a bit helpless. Objectively speaking, he had done quite well. Using the peril method from the Heavenly Doctor's Immortal Sutra, he successfully averted his slumber. He spent a happy time with the people of the ancient body transformation Dao. He had the ability of foresight. He could change one person's destiny. But he couldn't change the destinies of many people. In the ancient war, the entire cultivation world was involved. Even longevity immortals were deeply entangled in the vortex of war and couldn't avoid it. Li Fan couldn't influence or change any of this. So, what was the obsession of Tian Yang? While pondering, Li Fan continued his cultivation. Tian Yang's soul is not weaker than man. Gradually, Li Fan formed his own speculations. Back when Tian Yang was young, he watched helplessly as his master and senior brothers sacrificed themselves to protect each other on the battlefield, willingly facing death. As the weakest and most protected member of the sect, he, alone, survived until the end. This was all because of his perceived weakness. Tian Yang's heart was filled with guilt and regret. If only he had been stronger at that time, slightly stronger than his senior brothers, could he have replaced them on the battlefield. Then, he wouldn't have had to watch his senior brothers die one by one. Perhaps one of his senior brothers would have had a chance to survive. Maybe this was Tian Yang's simple and sincere obsession. Time passed slowly as Li Fan continued his cultivation. 5 years and 3 months after Lian Cheng's departure, the entrance to the ancient body transformation Dao's abode suddenly burst open. 7 cultivators who intended to occupy the ancient body transformation Dao's abode forcefully entered. Li Fan, who had been sitting in seclusion for years and lacked the experience to form a golden core, still couldn't break through. The outcome was the same as before. The simulated world disappeared, and Li Fan returned to reality. The usage counts for Tian Yang's eternal remembrance also decreased to 1. However, Li Fan unexpectedly discovered that he hadn't gained nothing this time. The dozens of posthumous works that second senior brother, Ling Xiao, handed over to him before leaving now vividly appeared in Li Fan's mind. After a long silence, Li Fan came to a realization. Perhaps, because Tian Yang had been trapped in a deep slumber all those years, he couldn't accompany his senior brothers properly and share the last moments of their lives. This was also Tian Yang's obsession. Erasing all traces of the underwater retreat, Li Fan returned to 10,000 Immortals Island. Under the name of Ling Xiao, he uploaded each of those dozen or so posthumous works. Thus, the author who had died thousands of years ago began his updates once again. Chapter 238. Mortal instantly transcends to godhood. Within the vast sea of information in the Tianshuan mirror, Ling Xiao suddenly updated dozens of works, which didn't attract much attention from people, except for his loyal fans. In this extremely small circle of only a dozen or so people, the following dialogue took place one day. Fellow Taoists, look what I've discovered. Fairy Chongbai, my marvelous journey with third junior brother, love-locking talisman. All signed by Ling Xiao. Could it be someone using his name to create forgeries? Let me check. The style, the writing, and the familiar immersive feeling. Also, the illustrations in each chapter are vivid. Most importantly, there are no taboos in who the protagonists sleep with. Humans, immortals, objects, beasts, these are undoubtedly Ling Xiao's posthumous works. I've read every work by Ling Xiao hundreds of times. I can affirm that these are definitely his genuine works. I never expected to see new works from Ling Xiao in my lifetime. Even if I break through and die tomorrow, I'll have no regrets. So many suddenly appeared. If I'm not mistaken, they were probably found together in some ruins or relics. Ling Xiao was truly prolific in his prime. I wonder how many works got lost in the river of history. This fellow is truly generous. He openly shared so many works for free. If it were someone else, they would surely sell these rare editions at exorbitant prices. Old man Jingzan, why are you sneering so sarcastically? Do you want to have a fight? He's anxious, he's really anxious. Alright, Jingzan, Guangwu, even with so many rare editions, you two can't shut up. Anyway, this generous fellow has allowed us to feast our eyes. We should express our gratitude. I'll take care of this matter. Let me see, Kong Yunxi, Li Fan. This place is a bit remote. Just foundation establishment cultivation, but that's fine, we only gathered here because of similar interests. So, within the Tianshuan mirror on 10,000 Immortals Island. Li Fan, after he finished uploading Ling Xiao's posthumous works, didn't pay much attention to it. He was contemplating how to break the deadlock of the eternal remembrance. Suddenly, he received a friend request. Tianyan Province, Oracle, who was this? Li Fan felt a bit puzzled. No realm information displayed, his cultivation should be above Golden Core. After some thought, Li Fan accepted the friend request. A refined middle-aged man dressed in snowy white robes appeared in front of Li Fan. The oracle smiled and explained the ins and outs of the situation to Li Fan, expressing gratitude for Li Fan's selfless sharing spirit. Li Fan hadn't expected that even after thousands of years since Ling Xiao's death, there still existed a group of his die-hard fans. For an author, this was probably the best reward. If Ling Xiao knew about it after his death, it would be enough to comfort him. Li Fan didn't boast, instead, he expressed his modest thanks. Oracle nodded, not saying much more. He only told Li Fan to contact him if he encountered any trouble. Li Fan readily agreed. After ending the communication, Li Fan searched for information about Tianyan Province, Oracle, in the Tianshuan mirror. He found no relevant data about Oracle. There was quite a bit about Tianyan Province. This province was located in the middle west of the Xuanwang realm, and seemed to be very far from the Kongyun Sea. The most famous wonder in the province was a shadow wall. The shadow wall had a history of several thousand years, seemingly existing even before the Great Calamity. In the middle of every year, the shadow wall illuminates with light, revealing a scene of a mortal transcending to godhood. This phenomenon of mortals transcending to godhood is said to have truly occurred thousands of years ago. It happened during the era when the unity of heaven and man and the natural Tao were practiced. At that time, a mortal achieved enlightenment during broad daylight. The mortal turned into a god, ascending to the heavens in a single step. This extremely rare scene happened to be recorded by this shadow wall. It continuously reappeared on the wall in countless years that followed. Just like back then, when this spectacle occurred, it would also resonate with the laws of heaven and earth, giving rise to numerous astonishing phenomena. Almost every cultivator below the level of soul transformation could gain insights from witnessing the scene of a mortal transcending to godhood. Therefore, many cultivators from other provinces would eagerly travel to Tianyan province in hopes of gaining opportunities. A mortal transcending to godhood. If I encounter bottlenecks in the future, it might be worthwhile to go and observe. In the current cultivation world, due to the existence of the white mist barrier, most cultivators spend the majority of their lives confined to a single province. Establishing connections with cultivators from other provinces is quite rare. This time, thanks to Ling Xiao's blessing, being able to connect with a cultivator from the distant Tianyan province was an unexpected opportunity. However, its usefulness might only be realized in the future. At present, Li Fan continued his interrupted train of thought. He resumed contemplating the way to break through Tian Yang's eternal remembrance. The method was quite clear now. Before the arrival of the Immortal Recruitment Order, he needed to become the strongest in the ancient body transformation Tao and replace senior brother Xixing in joining the war. However, this seemed like an impossible task. From the beginning of the simulation to the arrival of the Immortal Recruitment Order, only a little over 6 years passed. To expect a mortal with congenital weakness to defeat a powerful ancient cultivator in the late stage of Golden Core within such a short time. It was indeed too difficult. At the very least, in terms of Tian Yang's own aptitude, there was almost no hope of success. The eternal remembrance of Tian Yang in this life had only one remaining usage. Before having a certain level of confidence, Li Fan wouldn't rashly attempt it. However, there's no need to put too much effort into it. If I can surpass Golden Core in strength before those 7 individuals intrude into the ancient body transformation Tao cave, it's worth a try. As for how to quickly improve actual combat strength, Li Fan already had some ideas at this moment. After some searches, hundreds of pieces of information about body's hidden secrets appeared in Li Fan's mind. Many of them required payment to unlock. This contribution point was just a drop in the bucket for Li Fan. He checked the reliable ones. Another possibility beyond the immortal path, discussion on the potential development of body's hidden secrets. A discussion on the possible connection between ancient body cultivation and body's hidden secrets. Rebirth of blood, infinite vitality. The human body contains infinite potential. This fact was not only known to the heavenly doctor alone. In the long development of the Xuanwang realm, many sects emerged to study the secrets hidden within the human body. After the establishment of the 10,000 Immortals Alliance and the open access to the Tianshuan Mirror, an unsurpassed spiritual treasure that facilitated high-level information sharing, the study of the secrets of the human body became even more prevalent. Unfortunately, the practical effects were limited at the moment. Even with the current backlash from the heavens and the arduousness of the cultivation path, it was still better than developing the secrets of the human body. Chapter 239, External Body Transformation of the Self. The most crucial factor was that the cultivation speed of the art of unlocking the human body's potential could not be compared to the path of cultivation passed down by the immortal ancestor. Li Fan consulted these books and found that the difficulty of unlocking the human body's secret potential experienced a substantial leap when the power reached a level almost equivalent to the Golden Core realm. It was as if an invisible shackle appeared, demanding an exorbitant cost for even a slight advancement. The consumption of the same amount of energy yielded far greater results in cultivation compared to unlocking the secrets within the human body. Moreover, the power of immortal techniques, capable of invoking spiritual energy, far exceeded the strength derived solely from the human body. What could rebirth through a single blood drop achieve in comparison to the prowess gained after forming the nascent soul, where one could establish their Dharma domain and become virtually unkillable by normal means? After much research and the conjectures of many cultivators, the technique of unlocking the human body's secrets might have a method to match the advantages of the immortal Tao. However, the prerequisite was to escape the environment of the Xuanwang realm. Just like how the power of firearms and gunpowder is suppressed in this world, the technique to unlock the secrets within the human body follows the same principle. Once, Li Fan experimented with firearms brought from Grand Zon to the cultivation world. The explosive power was reduced to almost 1% of its original force. What was originally a lethal weapon turned into a child's toy in an instant. As the Xuanhuang realm is a world of the Immortal Tao, power systems outside of the Immortal Tao will be suppressed to varying degrees. It's as if the heavens are consciously repelling external forces. Synthesizing his previous experiences, Li Fan came to such a conclusion. However, even before this, Li Fan had a vague speculation. He wasn't particularly surprised. Although it lacks further potential, it is sufficient to help Tianyang break through. However, relying solely on the power of unlocking the human body's secrets falls somewhat short of reaching Golden Core within 6 years as immortal. It's still a bit lacking. Ancient Body Transformation Tao. Using yourself to establish the foundation. Li Fan slowly contemplated the relevant possibilities in his mind. To be honest, the ancient body transformation Tao's external body transformation and the current method of stealing heavenly treasures from the heavens and earth to establish the foundation were quite similar. Both involved relying on external things to nurture oneself. On Yin Yin Island, Master Yin once talked to Li Fan about the possibility of the self-foundation. This naturally led Li Fan to wonder if external body transformation could extend to the self. To thoroughly separate consciousness and the physical body. First, view one's own body as an external entity, and then gradually merge the external with the internal. External body transformation, cultivated to the extreme, allows for the unity of the external and internal. If external body transformation could be extended to oneself, reaching the pinnacle of cultivation would mean having complete control over one's own body. It was almost identical to self-foundation. When a cultivator could fully grasp their own body, they could then tap into the infinite potential hidden within. What kind of terrifying power would be unleashed? This was the method envisioned by Li Fan. Once successfully tested in the simulated world, Li Fan might be able to replicate it in the real world. Of course, the difficulty involved in this was undoubtedly extremely high. Li Fan wasn't an exceptionally talented individual. Achieving his goal directly wasn't possible. It required repeated attempts to ultimately realize it. Fortunately, truth provided Li Fan with enough capital, allowing him to experiment over and over without any worries. In the real world, use a clone to practice the technique of unlocking the human body's secrets. Accumulate experience. Once you feel confident, enter the simulated world and try it on Tianyang. With a firm determination in mind, the clone that had been idle all along immediately took action. Meanwhile, the main body divided his attention into 3 parts. Cultivating, studying formations, and reading the Heavenly Doctor's Immortal Sutra. At the same time, he held the second Tao transformation stone in his palm, activated the divine transformation Tao, and absorbed the mysterious energy contained in it, strengthening the blue crystal in his sea of consciousness. With his mind divided into 4, Li Fan felt that he had reached the limit without affecting efficiency. While it was possible to split his consciousness to do more things, it inevitably slowed down the speed of thought, and the loss would outweigh the gain. The solution to this problem would have to wait until his spiritual consciousness became stronger in the future. Clearing his mind of distractions, Li Fan completely immersed himself in cultivation. As time passed slowly, the 15th year had arrived. On the deserted island, after a sparring session with Xiao Heng, Yi Feipeng, who still lost under the move, Water Dragon Song, felt somewhat frustrated. Wearing an unhappy expression, he pushed everyone away and came to the beach, looking at the boundless sea, secretly scheming. Damn it, if this continues, not to mention Xiao Heng, even Su Xiaomei will surpass me. And that Zhang Haobo too. He's worthy of being a figure who could achieve Tao integration in the last life. I thought that by robbing him of his luck, he would become an ordinary person from then on. But unexpectedly, approaching him at that time actually attracted the attention of that old immortal skull, allowing him to embark on the path of immortality again. HMPH, if I had known this earlier, I should have been more ruthless and killed him directly. There's no need to see him now and be uncontrollably upset. But fortunately, this treasure, you won't get a chance this time. Yi Feipeng subconsciously touched his chest. There, a faint blue transparent water droplet was continuously helping him absorb the surrounding pure water attribute spiritual energy, enhancing his cultivation. Yi Feipeng naturally knew that this blue water droplet was the Kanghai Pearl. In the previous life, it was with its assistance that Zhang Haobo could slay the Crimson Flame as a golden core and successfully achieve Tao integration. In this life, he imitated Zhang Haobo, constantly chasing and resolving wind disasters, trying to attract the attention of the Kongyun Sea. After his unremitting efforts, he finally succeeded. However, he couldn't feel happy about it. With the help of such a treasure, my cultivation speed is still inferior to those freaks on the island. Could it be that I, Yi Feipeng, am truly so worthless? The more the fatty thought about it, the more frustrated he became, falling into deep self-doubt. After a long time, he took a deep breath and comforted himself. Calm down, you need to stay calm. So what if my cultivation speed is a bit slow? My biggest advantage is the foresight from being reborn. Yi Feipeng looked up at the distant sky, his eyes flickering. Heavenly calamity sword intent. The continuous premonitions from the Kanghai Pearl recently should be related to this. But in my heart, I feel that place is extremely dangerous, and I haven't made up my mind to explore it yet. I can't continue like this. Yi Feipeng's eyes showed determination. On the path of cultivation, it is inherently impossible to not take any risks at all. If I don't have this bit of courage, how will I plan to achieve Dao integration in the future? Displaying a speed incongruent with his figure, Yi Feipeng moved like a ghost, walking on the waves and controlling the wind. In the blink of an eye, he left the deserted island. Chapter 240, Swallowing the Green Wind. In the Kongyun Sea. The place where the green wind trapped the sword. The fatty Yi Feipeng squinted, looking up at the hidden spot in the sky, his face showing a hesitant expression. Although there was a constant throbbing coming from the blue water droplet in his chest, urging him to hurry forward, when it came to the critical moment, Yi Feipeng hesitated again. The heavenly calamity sword sounds formidable. It should be exceptionally dangerous in there. Despite having the Kanghai Pearl to protect my body, I cannot guarantee absolute safety. If I die again this time, I'm afraid I'll really die. The expression on the fatty's face fluctuated, and he felt extremely conflicted. After dawdling for so long, he realized that waiting longer might attract the attention of passing cultivators. Only then did Yi Feipeng close his eyes, grit his teeth, and rush in. A dreamy blue light appeared around him in a timely manner. With the assistance of the Kongyun Sea, after a moment, he successfully entered that strange space. A transparent figure in green stood silently. In its hands, it held a cage composed of green light. The pitch-black handle of the heavenly calamity sword, like a trapped ferocious beast, kept hitting the cage, attempting to struggle and break free. What is this? Yi Feipeng's gaze first lingered on the handle of the heavenly calamity sword for a moment, then uncontrollably looked towards the green wind. A heavenly spirit? The fat man's eyes suddenly turned bloodshot, his face full of ferocity. If it weren't for the blue light covering his body, allowing him to retain a trace of sanity, he might have rushed towards the green wind without any regard. Exerting all his strength, he lowered his head. Returning to normal gradually, Yi Feipeng, at this moment, was full of horror. A heavenly spirit, it turns out to be another heavenly spirit. This handle of the heavenly calamity sword, being able to contend with it, is obviously also at the Dao integration realm. Two Dao integration powerhouses. The slightest negligence could mean death and annihilation. Dangerous, too dangerous. Yi Feipeng's face gradually turned extremely pale, his mind overwhelmed by fear, with no thoughts left for observing and comprehending. Every second he stayed, the risk of dying increased exponentially. When he came to his senses, Yi Feipeng hadn't accomplished anything and stood there dumbly. Not long after, he couldn't endure the inner fear any longer and escaped the place where green wind trapped the sword. Displaying his incredible fleeing skills, he flew at an astonishing speed, heading towards the distance. Only when the fear in his heart completely dissipated did he finally stop. However, after recovering, Yi Feipeng felt regretful again. He wanted to give himself a big slap, his face full of unwillingness. So, he quietly returned. Outside the mysterious space, Yi Feipeng hesitated. After pondering for a long time, the fatty gained a clear understanding of his own character. Even if I break in again, under the imposing aura of two Dao integration powerhouses, I will definitely find it difficult to calm down. Moreover, this place is indeed too dangerous. But the opportunities here should not be easily abandoned. In a short time, Yi Feipeng's eyes lit up. He recalled how during the fight between the green wind and the sword handle, strands of green light would scatter from time to time. This green light seems to be the initial source of the Kongyun Sea's wind disasters. It's the energy originating from the heavenly spirit. I've been chasing wind disasters for years, and I understand better than anyone how terrifying this power of heaven and earth is. The wind disasters are all formed by these strands of green light. Although I can't directly face the two Dao integration powerhouses, I believe I can comprehend opportunities from these green lights. Some green lights are stronger than others. If necessary, I can start with the weakest ones. The more Yi Feipeng thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. Encouraging himself and boosting his confidence, he once again entered the mysterious space. This time, with self-awareness, Yi Feipeng steeled his determination, controlling himself not to look at the green wind and the sword handle. Instead, he focused on the green lights that occasionally floated around. Well, this one seems stronger. Unfortunately, it's not suitable for me. Ah, this one too. What a pity. ... In this way, Yi Feipeng eagerly watched one after another green light disappear before his eyes. However, the cautious fatty, without absolute certainty, would never take action. He waited patiently. In the mysterious space, the confrontation between the green wind and the heavenly calamity sword handle seemed to last for an eternity. The passage of time seemed to lose its meaning. After an unknown amount of time, Yi Feipeng finally found a suitable hunting target. A strand of green light, obviously dimmer, slowly floated down, as if uncertain where it would fall. Yi Feipeng, under the protection of the blue light, stealthily followed. From the mysterious space, he came to the sky of an unknown area in the Kongyun Sea. The green light gradually transformed, and a faint sound of roaring wind could be heard. Clouds gathered from all directions, and massive energy was silently accumulating. Observing all of this, Yi Feipeng could no longer hold back the greed in his eyes. Under the envelopment of the blue light, he suddenly felt something. Opening his big mouth, he swallowed the strand of green light that was undergoing transformation. As the green light entered his stomach, the fatty's belly twisted and shook violently, as if it would burst open at any moment. However, Yi Feipeng didn't care at all. He was even a bit lethargic, as if he had just finished a satisfying meal. Narrowing his eyes, as if about to fall asleep at any moment. In the Tianquan mirror, Li Fan, who was practicing diligently, paused his thoughts for a moment. Diverting some attention from the vision of heaven and earth, he carefully observed Yi Feipeng. After swallowing the green light, Yi Feipeng, who was originally in the late Qi condensation stage, was rapidly ascending. And his originally pure white fate also acquired a trace of sacred and pure green. Moreover, as Yi Feipeng continuously digested the power of the green light, the green color became more and more intense, gradually staining the surrounding white. Even pigs can fly when carried by the wind. The little fatty isn't just carried by the wind, he swallowed the entire gust of wind. I don't know how high he can fly this time. Fate changes with fortune, one change begets 100 changes. Li Fan silently watched Yi Feipeng, days and nights passing by. In the blink of an eye, 6 days passed, and the bulging belly of the fatty finally receded a bit. Yi Feipeng opened his eyes, and a fleeting trace of green light flashed in his eyes. After examining the changes in his body, his face was filled with uncontrollable joy. He first tested his wave-treading escape technique. His figure flickered and disappeared from the original spot. After a few breaths, he had flown to the distant horizon. At least twice as fast as my original speed. Ordinary foundation establishment cultivators can't even catch up to me. Now, I'm even safer. Moreover, I have a premonition that as my cultivation improves, my speed can further advance. I can't imagine how astonishing it will be in the future.